Chapter 4304. Oh, it seems that you must have a pill furnace or a desolation pill on you? Lu Ming looked at the burly man who had the most intense reaction. Because when Lu Ming asked these people to hand over their pill furnaces and desolation pills, the burly man shouted as if his tail had been stepped on. Obviously, something was wrong. Sure enough, after being questioned by Lu Ming, the burly man's face turned pale and he looked very ugly. No, I don't. You misunderstood. The burly man hurriedly explained. Whether you have it or not, I'll know once I check your storage ring. Lu Ming said and stepped forward towards the burly man. Seeing Lu Ming step forward, the burly man gritted his teeth, turned into a rainbow light, and flew into the distance, trying to escape. However, he was not Gabbert. Even if he tried his best, it was useless in front of Lu Ming. Whoosh! Lu Ming's figure flashed and caught up to the burly man. He threw a punch, and a vast fist force crushed down. Although the burly man wanted to resist, it was useless. Under the fist force, he turned into ashes. A storage ring was caught in Lu Ming's hand. Lu Ming checked it without hesitation. After a while, a trace of joy appeared on his face. There was indeed a pill furnace in the burly man's storage ring. It was about 1 meter in diameter. Lu Ming put it away without hesitation. It's your turn. Lu Ming's gaze turned to the others. Mu Yun, I don't have a pill furnace or a desolation pill on me. I don't have one either. Many people shouted. I'll check whether you have one or not. Hand over your storage rings and let me check. Lu Ming said coldly, his eyes filled with killing intent. Previously, these people wanted to kill him. He was already being lenient by not killing them. So what if they took some pill furnaces and desolation pills? Due to Lu Ming's demonic might, these people did not dare to disobey and could only obediently do as they were told. Lu Ming checked them one by one. He only scanned the pill furnaces and desolation pills very quickly. Before long, Lu Ming had checked them all. In the end, Lu Ming was somewhat disappointed. He found a total of 2 pill furnaces. Including the one that escaped before, there were a total of 3. As for the desolation pills, he only managed to find 3,000 of them. In fact, thinking about it, it was normal. These people's battle strength was not high. If they wanted to snatch the pill furnace, it would be very difficult. Unless they were lucky and encountered a place where no one wanted to snatch it, it would be very difficult to obtain the pill furnace. Lu Ming calculated that he had a total of 18 pill furnaces on him. The 17 smaller ones were about 1 meter in diameter. A large one with a diameter of about 3 meters. This was already a pretty good harvest. Muyun, I have news for you. At this time, a young man flew in front of Lu Ming and said to Lu Ming. What news? Lu Ming asked curiously. Everyone else had already left, but this person was still here and wanted to tell him the news. Judging from the aura of life origin, this person should be a member of the demon race. If you want alchemy furnaces, I know a place with alchemy furnaces, and there are quite a few of them. The young man from the demon race said. A place with alchemy furnaces? Hee hee, do you think I'm stupid? If there is, why don't you go and tell me? Lu Ming sneered, and a trace of killing intent appeared in his eyes. The young demon's face turned slightly pale, and he hurriedly said, The alchemy furnaces I'm talking about belong to Gabbert. There are powerhouses of the angel race guarding them. I definitely can't snatch them. Gabbert's? Lu Ming whispered. That's right. Gabbert obtained a lot of alchemy furnaces before, but he didn't bring them with him because they wouldn't condense alchemy furnaces. Gabbert gave his alchemy furnaces to some of his subordinates of the angel race to guard a place with rich desolation chi. They are constantly condensing desolation pills. In this way, the alchemy furnaces will not be empty and can be used effectively to produce desolation pills. Gabbert will give some of these desolation pills to the people guarding the alchemy furnaces, and most of them will go into Gabbert's pocket. The young demon said. Oh. Lu Ming said softly. In fact, he already believed it in his heart. Previously, Gabbard had killed the genius of the devil race, and this young demon was a member of the devil race. It was normal for him to tell Gabbard the alchemy furnaces were hidden because they had a grudge against each other. Moreover, it made sense that Gabbard didn't bring the alchemy furnaces with him because they wouldn't be able to condense desolation pills. Lu Ming was alone, so he had no choice but to bring the alchemy furnaces with him at all times. Tell me, where is Gabbard's alchemy furnaces? Lu Ming asked. Here, immediately. The young demon told Lu Ming the address in detail and then left. After the young demon left, Lu Ming took out a storage ring. This storage ring belonged to Gabbard. Lu Ming checked it carefully. There were other storage rings in the storage ring, and one of them belonged to Mo. However, to Lu Ming's disappointment, there wasn't a single alchemy furnace in it. Instead, Lu Ming found 10,000 desolation pills. These desolation pills belonged to Gabbard and Mo. Lu Ming guessed that the two of them had kept the desolation pills because these desolation pills weren't enough to help them break through to the next realm. They wanted to accumulate more desolation pills and refine them together to break through to the next realm. Now, Lu Ming had taken advantage of them. There isn't a single alchemy furnace in Mo's storage ring. Could it be that he also asked the devil race to guard it and refine the desolation pills? It's a pity that I didn't ask the young demon to explain it clearly just now. Lu Ming muttered. Then, his figure flashed and disappeared, heading in the direction that the young demon had told him. An hour later, in the sky above a mountain range, a figure flashed and appeared. It was Lu Ming. The desolation qi in this area is indeed dense. It's suitable for refining desolation pills. It seems that Gabbard's people are here. A thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind as he looked at the valley ahead. In this area, the desolation qi in that valley was the densest. Gabbard's people should be refining desolation pills there. Although the speed at which a furnace refined desolation pills was related to the grade of the furnace itself, it was also related to the environment outside. The denser the desolation qi outside, the faster the furnace refined desolation pills. When Lu Ming had refined desolation pills before, the furnace could refine a batch of desolation pills in half a day. A batch of 12 desolation pills. If he had refined in a place with denser desolation qi, the number of desolation pills he could refine would have exceeded 12. Immediately, Lu Ming withdrew his aura, landed on the ground, and silently headed for the valley. He didn't know how strong Gabbard's subordinates were. If there were stronger people, even stronger than Gabbard, he would have to give up on the idea. Since they were Gabbard's subordinates, most likely no one in the younger generation could surpass Gabbard. He was afraid that those in the prime of their lives, who had cultivated for many years, had profound cultivation, and comprehended all kinds of secret techniques for many years, could surpass Gabbard in battle strength. Soon, Lu Ming silently arrived above the valley. Using the great concealment technique, he hid in the dark and observed. Chapter 4305. As expected, there was a group of people in the valley. They were all wearing white robes. Some were young, some were in their prime. There were about 30 of them. Lu Ming could tell at one glance that she was an angel due to her unique aura. These people formed a circle, and in the middle of them were pill furnaces. 12 furnaces, one of them is 3 meters in diameter. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He realized that there were 12 furnaces in total. 11 of them were 1 meter in diameter and one was 3 meters in diameter. More than 30 people from the Angel clan were surrounding the furnaces. First, they were guarding the furnaces. Second, they were maintaining the furnaces so that they could continue refining desolate pellets. Gabbard isn't here. Lu Ming's eyes twinkled. He didn't see Gabbard in the valley. He was a bit disappointed. He had thought that if Gabbard had come back and was seriously injured, he might have been able to kill him. But now, it seemed like Gabbard didn't come back because he was worried about something. It seems like the strongest angel clan member has the strength of the sixth great supreme god layer. If I can kill him first, I can deal with him. Lu Ming thought and made a decision. He decided to attack. After careful observation, he realized that the strongest angel clan member had the strength of the sixth great supreme god layer. He was in his prime. Sixth great supreme god layer was 3 levels higher than Lu Ming's cultivation level. If that angel clan member had the strength of 3 stars, it would be difficult for Lu Ming to deal with him. However, if he could kill him first, he wouldn't be afraid of the others. Lu Ming restrained his qi and used the great concealing technique. He quietly moved towards the valley and approached the angel clan member of the sixth great supreme god layer. The angel clan member of the sixth great supreme god layer was sitting cross-legged at the entrance of the valley. He was the closest to Lu Ming. Very quickly, Lu Ming was only 1,000 meters away from him. The great concealing technique was mysterious and extraordinary. It was an ancient secret technique that was as famous as the great teleportation technique and the great aurora technique. It was one of the top 100 ancient secret techniques among the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. Even when he was 1,000 meters away from this person still hadn't noticed. A distance of 1,000 meters was no different from 0 to them. Great assassination technique. Lu Ming performed the great assassination skill. His palms seemed to have turned into a long sword, piercing toward the angel with the strength of the 6th layer of the great emperor god realm. The distance of 1,000 meters was covered in an instant. When the sword light approached the angel clan's cultivator of the 6th great supreme god layer, he was alarmed. With a furious roar, this person erupted with all his strength, wanting to move horizontally to avoid Lu Ming's sword light. However, he was still a step too late. Lu Ming's sword light was aimed at the back of his head. At the critical moment, he moved sideways a little, causing the sword light to deviate a little, but it still pierced through his head. With a bang, half of the man's head exploded, and his body fell forward. Although it didn't hit the center and didn't immediately extinguish this person's soul, the explosion of half of his head still injured this person's soul, causing him to be heavily injured. How could Lu Ming miss such an opportunity? His terrifying attacks rose again as he charged towards this person. "Ah!" shouted the angel clan's cultivator of the 6th great supreme god layer furiously. He spread his wings and his entire body was surrounded by a pure white holy light. At that moment, he finally saw who had attacked him by surprise. "Mu Yun!" shouted the angel clan's cultivator of the 6th great supreme god layer. "Die!" What responded to him was Lu Ming's cold murderous intent. This time, Lu Ming performed the heaven-splitting move. Dazzling spear gleams dashed toward this person. Boom! Their attacks collided. At that moment, the angel's holy light was destroyed. The spear lights didn't stop and continued to attack the remaining half of the man's head. With a loud bang, the man's head exploded. His soul was also destroyed by the spear lights. A headless corpse fell on the ground. Finally, the others came to their senses. From the moment Lu Ming launched the assassination to the moment he launched the second attack to kill this person, everything happened too quickly. It was only after he had completely killed this person that the rest of the people reacted. "Mu Yun. It's Mu Yun. Damn it. He dared attack us by surprise. Kill him. Die!" shouted the angels furiously. They all threw themselves at Lu Ming. Some of them had the strength of the 5th godly emperor layer, and their fighting strength was between 2 and 3 stars. They were the fastest. They turned into pure white sword lights and moved towards Lu Ming. They wanted to kill Lu Ming in one fell swoop. Even though Lu Ming had just killed the strongest of them, they thought that Lu Ming had done it by surprise. Now that Lu Ming was in front of them, they didn't have the opportunity to attack him by surprise. They didn't think he was that strong. The few cultivators of the 5th great supreme god layer were the first to reach Lu Ming. "Die!" Lu Ming shouted softly. Both of his fists blasted out continuously. Waves of violent energy transformed into fist force, crushing the opponent. There were 4 angels of the 5th great supreme god layer in total. They didn't even have time to scream before their bodies exploded. Lu Ming's fists had directly destroyed them. Even though they had the strength of the 5th great supreme god layer, the strongest of them was only 3 stars. Altogether, they were only 9 stars stronger than ordinary cultivators of the 3rd great supreme god layer. Lu Ming's combat ability was as high as 12 stars. Naturally, he could crush and kill these people in seconds. Slash, 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 this scene had all the other angels sucking in a cold breath of air. Their eyes were filled with fear. They had initially wanted to kill Lu Ming, but when they saw that, they tried to control their god's strength to stop. But it was too late. Lu Ming's eyes were cold and indifferent. His body seemed to have transformed into a long spear. He dashed out and beams of spear gleams burst out from his body. No matter if the angels were attacking or defending, they couldn't withstand a single attack from Lu Ming's spear lights. Spear lights shot out, and the angels were killed one by one. Out of more than 30 angels, only 5 were left. The remaining 5 were so scared that they were trembling all over. Their guts were almost broken, and their faces were twisted together because of fear. Spare my life. Don't kill me. I surrender. I'm willing to be your slave. I beg you, please don't kill me. The 5 angels were young. They were begging for their lives. They didn't have the courage to fight back. Hee, are these the geniuses of the top 10 clans? You're just a so-so. Lu Ming sneered, full of sarcasm. The geniuses of the top 10 clans were usually high and mighty in the ancient desolate universe. They looked down on the other clans and ordered them around. But now, they were facing death. They were even more afraid of death than ordinary people. What face? What dignity? They had nothing. They didn't want anything. Although the 5 angels felt aggrieved and angry, they did not dare to show it on their faces. They continued to look at Lu Ming with pleading eyes. Chapter 4306. The 5 angels didn't dare to escape or attack. They could only look at Lu Ming pleadingly. They hoped that Lu Ming would be merciful and let them go. Get lost. Lu Ming waved his hand casually. The 5 angels were overjoyed. They were so excited that their bodies were trembling. They never expected that Lu Ming would really let them go. They didn't have any intention of staying. Like stray dogs, they flew into the distance and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming didn't make a move and let the 5 angels leave. It wasn't that Lu Ming was merciful and didn't have the heart to kill them. Lu Ming deliberately let them leave to deal a blow to Gabbert. After these people left, they would definitely look for Gabbert. If Gabbert knew that the pill furnaces he had painstakingly obtained had all fallen into Lu Ming's hands, he would probably die of anger. Even if he didn't die of anger, he would be half dead, which would cause his injuries to heal even more slowly. That was Lu Ming's goal. In any case, he didn't mind letting the 5 angels go. They were no threat to him. Lu Ming stepped forward and walked toward the 12 pill furnaces. Then, he waved his hand and put them away. He had no intention of condensing the desolation pill here. Although the desolation aura here was dense, it was easy to be exposed. It was better to find another place to condense the desolation pill. After putting away the pill furnaces, Lu Ming randomly chose a direction and soared into the sky, wanting to leave. However, after flying for a few miles, Lu Ming's figure suddenly stopped and he retreated rapidly. Who's there? Lu Ming shouted. At the same time, he looked in all directions with a serious expression. That was because he felt a sense of danger from all directions. There were definitely powerhouses hiding in the surroundings. What a sharp spiritual sense, but it's useless. Mu Yun, your fate is sealed today. A cold voice sounded. At the same time, many figures appeared around Lu Ming and surrounded him. There weren't many of them, only about 20 or so. However, the aura they emitted was extremely terrifying, causing Lu Ming's gaze to turn even more serious. Devil race, heavenly human race. Lu Ming's gaze swept over them. He discovered that some of them were from the demon clan. There were also a few from the celestial clan. However, they were not young people. They were in the prime of their lives. What Lu Ming feared the most were these heavenly human tribe youths. They gave Lu Ming a strong sense of oppression. At least the sixth great supreme god layer, Lu Ming muttered in his heart. This time, it was a little troublesome. The heavenly human tribe's innate talents were very powerful. Any heavenly human tribe member could reach 2-star battle prowess. The slightly stronger ones could even reach 3-star battle prowess. As for those who were more talented and outstanding, it wouldn't be too difficult for them to attain a 4-star battle prowess. Coupled with their cultivation, such battle prowess could completely crush Lu Ming. Are you the one who leaked the information? Lu Ming's gaze finally landed on a young demon clan member and he asked coldly. This young demon clan member was the one who had previously informed Lu Ming of the location of Gabbert's cauldron. Needless to say, this person had brought people here. He had miscalculated. He should have killed this person before. Previously, Lu Ming didn't think too much about it. He thought that this person had told Gabbert the location of the cauldron because Gabbert had killed Mo Jie and he wanted to avenge Mo Jie. Now, it seemed that he was wrong. This person had told Gabbert the location of the cauldron to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Not only could he attack Gabbert, but he could also kill him and make a great contribution to the heavenly human tribe. What a scheming person. If it weren't for the fact that this person's battle prowess was not strong enough, he would have been a terrifying opponent. Isn't that obvious? Mu Yun, I can't kill you, but the experts of the heavenly human tribe can. The young demon clan member sneered with a smug look on his face. Although he didn't kill Lu Ming and couldn't obtain the position of Son of Heaven, helping the heavenly human tribe to kill Lu Ming was still a great contribution. In the future, he would definitely be valued by the heavenly palace and have a meteoric rise. Thinking of the beautiful future, Lu Ming couldn't help but smile on his face. Very well, your life is mine, swoosh. Before Lu Ming's voice fell, he suddenly used the Greater Aurora technique. His body turned into an aurora and rushed toward the young demon clan member. A terrifying spear light rushed toward the young demon clan member. Humph. At this time, a heavenly human tribe member stepped out with a cold snort. A terrifying aura erupted from his body. A golden fist blasted toward Lu Ming and collided with Lu Ming's spear light. Boom! A violent explosion erupted. Lu Ming's spear light instantly collapsed. His body shook violently and retreated violently, spitting out a mouthful of blood. What a strong combat strength. Lu Ming looked even more dignified. The heavenly human tribe member who had attacked a moment ago had the strength of the 6th great supreme god layer, but he had the strength of 4 stars. That was 1 star higher than Lu Ming's. I can't defeat him, I have to run. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He cast the transference skill, wanting to leave. Humph, I knew you would use the greater teleportation technique. Seal the space, shouted a heavenly human tribe member. Boom boom boom. The surrounding people all exuded a powerful aura. Their energy spread in all directions, making the surrounding space extremely heavy and obstructing Lu Ming's transference skill. No secret technique was invincible, no matter how mysterious it was, it had a weakness. The weakness of the greater teleportation technique was that once the space was disturbed, it would be very difficult to use it. Die. At the same time, another burly man from the heavenly human clan stepped out and charged toward Lu Ming. He was holding a halberd, which emitted a dazzling light, and slashed at Lu Ming. Fast, it was too fast. Moreover, my timing was very precise. At the moment when Lu Ming failed to cast the transference skill, I executed the killer move. Lu Ming felt a terrifying sense of danger, which made his hair stand on end. Great defensive technique, great divine shield technique. In an instant, Lu Ming cast close to 200 types of defensive ancient mystic skills and set up more than 200 layers of defense around his body. At the same time, Lu Ming unleashed a secret skill of speed and retreated rapidly to the back. As soon as the heavenly human tribe member attacked, Lu Ming knew that he couldn't defeat him. He was too terrifying. However, the heavenly human tribe member attacked even faster. The halberd still hit him. The moment the halberd slashed, the defense that Lu Ming had set up on his body exploded continuously. In a breath's time, the 200 layers of defense around Lu Ming's body were all destroyed. The terrifying energy bombarded Lu Ming's body. "Get rid of it!" shouted Lu Ming. His body started to shake violently, turning into an illusion. He wanted to get rid of the energy. However, in the end, he only managed to get rid of a part of it. The rest of the energy bombarded his body and made half of his body explode. Lu Ming coughed up blood and his face turned pale. 5 stars. A thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind. Even though the heavenly human tribe member had the strength of the 6th great supreme god layer, his fighting strength was 5 stars, which was 2 stars higher than Lu Ming's. 2 stars of battle prowess, he could completely crush them. Chapter 4307. Under normal circumstances, 2 stars of fighting strength was enough to kill a cultivator instantly. However, Lu Ming was special. His ability to protect himself was too strong. As long as he didn't fight head-on with his opponent, he had many ways to protect himself. He had forbidden strength and his vitality was incomparably strong. Besides, Lu Ming had mastered too many ancient mystic skills and there were all kinds of them. Defensive skills, speed skills, energy dissipation skills, escape skills, and so on. When those skills were used together, Lu Ming's ability to protect himself reached the peak. Even though Lu Ming's cultivation level was 2 stars higher than his, he still managed to survive. He's not dead. The strong cultivator of the heavenly human clan was also very surprised. Lu Ming was more difficult to kill than they had imagined. "You guys seal the surrounding space. Don't let him escape. I'll kill him," shouted the strong cultivator of the heavenly human clan. Then, he continued to attack Lu Ming. As long as they sealed Lu Ming in the area, he wouldn't be able to escape. Sooner or later, he would be killed. If he couldn't kill Lu Ming with 1 move, he would use 2 moves. If 2 moves weren't enough, he would use 3 moves. If he used a few more moves, he would be able to kill Lu Ming sooner or later. "You're really smart. If you kill me, you'll be able to take all the credit," shouted Lu Ming. At the same time, he rushed to the other side. When he said that, as expected, some people's expressions changed drastically. Those devil race experts were still fine. They knew that it was impossible to snatch credit in front of the celestial race. However, the other members of the heavenly human clan had other ideas. Indeed, whoever killed Lu Ming would be able to take credit and become the son of heaven. Who didn't want to become the son of heaven? Especially for people like them who weren't young anymore. They were already in the prime of their lives. Their cultivation level was only at the 6th great supreme god layer. In terms of potential, they were much weaker than those young geniuses. If that continued, their future would be bleak. Maybe after reaching the peak of the great supreme god layer, it would be difficult for them to progress any further. It would be difficult for them to break through to the divine master layer. But once they were bestowed the title of son of heaven, their future, their fate, would completely change. Even if their talent and potential were lacking, as long as they had enough resources, they would still be able to break through to the divine master realm. Therefore, Mu Yun's life was of utmost importance to them. The expression of the brawny heavenly human race man who was attacking Lu Ming changed. He shouted, "Don't fall into his trap. Seal the space. Once there is a flaw, he will escape." As he roared, he madly charged towards Lu Ming, fearing that others would snatch it away. Naturally, he had his own selfish motives. He wanted to kill Lu Ming himself and take all the credit for himself. He's already heavily injured. He can't escape. That's right. Everyone should have a share of Mu Yun. You can't monopolize him. Kill. How could the other heavenly human tribe burly men miss such an opportunity? One after another, they pounced on Lu Ming. In this way, several experts joined forces to besiege Lu Ming, causing Lu Ming to fall into a fatal crisis. However, a flaw appeared in the outer seal of the void. This was an opportunity. Fight. Lu Ming's eyes revealed a ruthless look. He suddenly changed direction and charged towards one of the heavenly human tribe burly men. This burly man was the first person Lu Ming had fought with. This person had a 4-star combat strength, only 1 star higher than Lu Ming. Among the heavenly human tribe burly men present, he was considered the weakest. It was most advantageous to break through from this person's side. Lu Ming used the sky-breaking style. His body turned into a long spear and charged towards the heavenly human tribe burly man. This time, Lu Ming pressed forward with indomitable will, charging forward crazily. Boom! The two attacks collided. Lu Ming's attack was defeated, and a powerful force bombarded Lu Ming's body. However, this time, Lu Ming did not retreat. If he retreated, he could reduce some of the force and the damage he received would not be too great. However, if he retreated now, he would be attacked by others. Then, Lu Ming would be in even more danger. Now, he could only charge forward with indomitable will. As he continued to charge forward, Lu Ming suffered more damage. His body continued to explode. In the end, more than half of his body exploded, leaving only the upper half of his body. If it were anyone else, they would definitely be severely injured and not have much combat strength left. However, Lu Ming would not. As long as he had a single cell left, he could be revived. Moreover, more than half of his cells were still there. Lu Ming's combat strength was still at its peak. He did not retreat and charged with all his might. Finally, he successfully charged past the heavenly human tribe burly man. Oh no! Damn it! Stop him! The other heavenly human tribe burly men roared. However, it was already too late. Lu Ming had already used the greater teleportation technique. Swoosh! This time, the greater teleportation technique was successfully activated. The surrounding demon tribe experts were not as strong as those from the heavenly human tribe. There were flaws in the void seal. Lu Ming moved out of these flaws and rushed out of the encirclement. However, Lu Ming did not go far. Instead, he came out from the side of the demon tribe youth. This person dared to scheme against him. How could Lu Ming let him go? As soon as he saw Lu Ming suddenly appear beside him, the demon tribe youth was scared out of his wits. He screamed in horror. Save me, no one can save you. From the moment you schemed against me, your fate has been sealed. Go to hell. A cold voice came out from Lu Ming's mouth. At the same time, a spear light burst out. Although Lu Ming only had half of his body left, his combat strength was not affected. The demon tribe youth could not block Lu Ming's attack at all. The spear light flashed and the demon tribe youth's glabella was penetrated. His soul was also annihilated. His eyes were wide open, filled with unwillingness, despair, and regret. Yes, regret. If he knew that he would end up like this, he would not have provoked Lu Ming. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Damn it. Kill. Those burly men from the heavenly human tribe and some of the demon tribe experts also rushed towards Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming continued to use the greater teleportation technique and disappeared from the spot. I will remember your lives. Sooner or later, I will take them away. Just you wait. Lu Ming's voice was still floating in the air. Chase. Those heavenly human tribe experts roared and chased after Lu Ming. Unfortunately, their speed was not as fast as Lu Ming. The distance between them became wider and wider. Soon, they completely lost track of Lu Ming. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. The burly man from the heavenly human tribe who had the combat strength of 5 stars roared. He then looked at the others angrily and said, I told you not to attack and seal the void. Now, you have fallen into a trap. You have to take responsibility. Take responsibility? What a joke. Why are you the one who attacked and not me? You sealed the void. You just want to take all the credit for yourself. That's right. Don't make it sound so dignified. You are also at fault. The other heavenly human tribe expert sneered. Chapter 4308. While the burly men from the heavenly human tribe were arguing, Lu Ming had already teleported hundreds of thousands of miles away. Lu Ming did not continue to teleport, instead, he started to fly. At the same time, he coughed up a few mouthfuls of blood. This time, his injuries were really serious. It was one of the most serious injuries he had suffered since he started cultivating. Looks like I'm still not careful enough. During this period of time, my combat strength has been constantly soaring, causing me to be a little overconfident. There are still quite a number of people in the younger generation who are stronger than me, not to mention that there are still people in their prime entering this time. Lu Ming warned himself to sum up his experience. After all, he was only at the 3rd layer of the Great God realm. There were many people who were stronger than him in the 2nd layer. He had to be more careful in the future. At the same time, he had to be more ruthless. For example, when the young man from the demon clan told him the location of Gabbert's cauldron, he should have killed him immediately. That way, no one would know where he went. That would be the safest way. Lu Ming was flying while circulating his forbidden energy. The forbidden energy kept flowing out of the remaining cells to repair Lu Ming's body. The lower half of Lu Ming's body was rapidly growing and recovering. While Lu Ming was flying, the few strong men from the heavenly human clan had already spread the news that Mu Yun had been seriously injured. They had spread the news in the nearby area and called for everyone to come and kill Lu Ming. In an instant, many people gave up looking for cauldrons and gave up on refining desolate pills. They came to kill Lu Ming. Compared to the position of son of heaven or daughter of heaven, cauldrons or desolate pills, it was a far cry. Everyone in the area was looking for Lu Ming. Some people who were proficient in formations had set up surveillance formations to capture Lu Ming's whereabouts. After Lu Ming flew for a while, the lower half of his body grew out completely and he returned to his original appearance. His aura had also stabilized. Now that I have 30 pill furnaces, the speed of refining great desolate pills has greatly increased. Now, I need to find a place with dense great desolate qi to refine great desolate pills. Lu Ming pondered for a moment. Then, he spread out his spirit sense and began to search. After a while. Swish. Swish. Suddenly, a rainbow light appeared in front of him, rushing towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming noticed it from afar. People from the heavenly palace. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. In the Taishang Immortal City, other than the Heaven Destroyer, the rest were all from the heavenly palace. Mu Yun is over there. Kill him, don't let him escape. Those people were obviously here for Lu Ming. Each and every one of them exuded a cold killing intent, and there was a greedy light in their eyes. These people are really here for me. How did they know I was here? Could it be that someone has set up a surveillance formation in the vicinity? Lu Ming's mind was racing. With his intelligence, he quickly came to this conclusion. Those people obviously had a purpose. They were rushing towards him from afar. Obviously, they knew he was there. That was why they were rushing towards him. There was only one possibility: there was a surveillance formation in the vicinity. Those people had seen him and were rushing towards him. The strongest one is only of the 5th great supreme god layer, and you want to kill me? You're overestimating yourself. Lu Ming was already very angry. At that moment, it was as if his anger had been ignited. He exploded with a loud bang, full of killing intent. Lu Ming immediately rushed over, his body turned into a long spear and attacked the enemy. The strongest one on the enemy's side was only of the 5th Great Supreme God layer. There were no geniuses at the level of Gabbert. How could they be a match for Lu Ming? After a short time, there were corpses on the ground. It was a kind of deterrence. Then, Lu Ming used the greater teleportation technique and left. This time, Lu Ming used the greater teleportation technique. He didn't fly anymore. If he flew, he would be discovered by the surveillance formation, but if he used the greater teleportation technique, he wouldn't be discovered by the surveillance formation. As expected, Lu Ming didn't run into any people from the Heavenly Palace. He continued teleporting for millions of li and finally found a suitable place. This was a lake. It was very wide, and the great desolation chi in this lake was very dense. Lu Ming immediately jumped into the lake and went to the bottom. Then, he took out all 30 pill furnaces and injected forbidden energy into them to activate them, allowing them to start refining great desolate pills. As for Lu Ming, he took out some interspatial rings and started checking them. Those interspatial rings had been left behind by Gabbert's subordinates. Those people were guarding the cauldrons and refining desolate pills. There should be some desolate pills. After all, they didn't dare to refine them for themselves. They had to give them to Gabbert. As expected, there were more than 10,000 desolate pills in those people's interspatial rings. Lu Ming had already obtained 10,000 desolate pills. Now, Lu Ming had more than 20,000 desolate pills. Robbing is really fast. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. Of course, this was based on his strength. If he wasn't strong enough, not only would he not be able to get the desolate pills, he would also lose his life. Let's refine these 20,000 desolate pills and increase my cultivation first. Lu Ming nodded and then took a deep breath. Tens of thousands of primordial pills were sucked into Lu Ming's mouth. They turned into surging energy that surged into the cells in his body and then transformed into taboo energy. Lu Ming could clearly feel that his cultivation was increasing rapidly. He was slowly approaching the 4th Great Supreme God layer. Very quickly, 10,000 desolate pills were refined. Lu Ming took the remaining 10,000 desolate pills and continued to refine them. After refining all 20,000 desolate pills, Lu Ming's cultivation was approaching the late 3rd Great Supreme God layer. 20,000 desolate pills and I'm only approaching the late 3rd Great Supreme God layer. It seems like I need at least 120,000 desolate pills to break through to the 4th Great Supreme God layer. It seems like I have to wait for a while. Lu Ming thought for a while and then started to comprehend the ordinary secret techniques. Half a day later, the 30 cauldrons started to refine pills. BZZZ. 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 The 30 cauldrons shook at the same time. A large amount of pills flew out of the cauldrons. Lu Ming grabbed them in the air and they all flew towards him. 575 pills. The density of the Great Desolate Chi here is about the same as the place where I refined pills last time. A pill furnace with a diameter of 1 meter can produce 12 Great Desolate pills. A pill furnace with a diameter of 3 meters can produce 10 times the diameter of 1 meter. There are a total of 120 pills in one furnace, whispered Lu Ming. He was quite satisfied. At this speed, he could refine 1152 desolate pills a day. In 100 days, he could refine more than 110,000 desolate pills. Lu Ming put the desolate pills away. He didn't refine them. He planned to wait until he had 100,000 desolate pills. Then, he would refine them all and break through to the 4th Great Supreme God layer. He continued to comprehend the ordinary secret techniques. All kinds of ordinary secret techniques turned into talismans and merged with Lu Ming's cells. The forbidden energy was slowly changing and increasing. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 100 days had passed. Lu Ming already had around 110,000 desolate pills. Chapter 4309. After 100 days, Lu Ming had accumulated around 110,000 desolate pills. According to Lu Ming's calculations, 110,000 was enough for him to break through to the fourth great supreme god layer. He immediately stopped studying the secret technique and started refining the desolate pills. Lu Ming opened his mouth and inhaled. Tens of thousands of desolate pills were sucked into his mouth and turned into forbidden energy. Lu Ming's cultivation level rose rapidly. Late third great supreme god layer, peak third great supreme god layer. Lu Ming's cultivation level rose all the way to the top of the third great supreme god layer. Then, he started breaking through to the fourth great supreme god layer. As long as he had enough desolate pills, the bottlenecks of the great supreme god layer were nothing. Not long after, boom! There was a soft roar in Lu Ming's body. Then, his aura surged and increased crazily. He had successfully broken through to the fourth great supreme god layer. Besides, Lu Ming still had 10,000 desolate pills left. Just like Lu Ming had calculated, he needed 120,000 desolate pills to break through to the fourth great supreme god layer. As Lu Ming had already refined 20,000 pills previously, he was left with 10,000 pills out of the 110,000 pills. However, Lu Ming didn't keep them. He also refined the 10,000 desolate pills. After breaking through to the fifth great supreme god layer, he needed at least 10 times more desolate pills to break through to the fourth great supreme god layer. He needed at least 1,200,000 desolate pills. Of course, 10,000 desolate pills weren't very useful, but they could help him consolidate his cultivation level. After an hour, Lu Ming's qi stabilized. His cultivation level had stabilized at the fourth great supreme god layer. Lu Ming's fighting strength had increased tremendously after breaking through to the fourth great supreme god layer. Now, if he faced Gabbard again, he could kill him with one slap. Of course, that was if he hadn't broken through to the fourth great supreme god layer. I finally broke through to the fourth great supreme god layer, but to break through to the fifth great supreme god layer, I need at least 1,200,000 desolate pills. That's too much. With my cauldron, I need 3 years to concoct them, Lu Ming thought. In 3 years, he had broken through to the fifth great supreme god layer. In the outside world, he was astonishingly fast, but in the supreme celestial city, he wasn't satisfied. There were too many experts on the second level of the supreme immortal city. He had to improve as quickly as possible. Furthermore, they could not stay on the second level for too long. At most, they could only stay for 50 years. After 50 years, they would have to leave. Yes, only 50 years. Although the Grand Supreme Immortal City would stay in the desolate universe for 1,000 years, they could only stay on the first, second, and third level for 50 years. He would spend most of his time on the origin seed. That was the most important, and also the most time-consuming. Therefore, 50 years was too short. He really didn't have time to waste. If he stayed there and didn't do anything, he could break through to the fifth great supreme god layer in 3 years and the sixth great supreme god layer in 30 years. Then, it came to an end. If he wanted to break through to the seventh great supreme god layer, he would need 300 years. If he broke through to the sixth great supreme god layer, it would be impossible for him to get the chance to condense the origin seed. In the future, he would have to compete to condense the origin seed. On each level, only the strongest people would have the chance to do so. He had to break through to the seventh great supreme god layer, or even reach the peak of the great supreme god layer. Only then would he have the chance to condense the origin seed. Therefore, if he stayed there and didn't do anything, he wouldn't be able to condense the desolate pills. Even though it was the safest way. Besides, he still had to find Xian Yanqing, find Xiao Yu and the others. Therefore, he had to compete to obtain more pill furnaces and more desolation pills. Only then would he be able to quickly increase his cultivation. Lu Ming waved his hand and took the 30 cauldrons. Then, he rose up into the air and left the lake. According to the information Fei Huang gave me, there are 36 star palaces in the second level of the Taishang Immortal City. I should be in one of the star palaces. No matter which star palaces I am in, they are divided into the outer area and the core area. At the beginning, I will enter the outer area. The outer area has the least opportunities. The level of the cauldrons is not very high. The desolate chi is also very low. The core area not only has higher level cauldrons, but also some celestial palaces and earth veins. The desolate chi is extremely thick there. You can condense a huge amount of desolate pills there. However, if you want to enter the core area, you have to go through the calamity-avoiding ocean. If you want to go through the calamity-avoiding ocean, you have to get a calamity-avoiding airship. The information given by Fei Huang kept appearing in Lu Ming's mind. Then, he summarized the information and made a plan for the next step. Without a doubt, if he wanted to increase his cultivation level quickly, he had to enter the core area. In the outer area, when his cultivation level was low, he could increase his cultivation level quickly. However, when his cultivation level was high, the amount of resources he needed to increase his cultivation level would increase exponentially. He had to enter the core area to increase his cultivation speed. According to Fei Huang's information, there were some other opportunities in the core area. Some of them contained heaven-shaking opportunities that were difficult to guess. Lu Ming guessed that some of the strongest cultivators, such as those above the 7th Great Supreme God layer, had already entered the core area. I don't have a calamity-avoiding airship, so it will be difficult to go through the calamity-avoiding ocean. However, the calamity-avoiding airship can carry more than one person. I will go to the edge of the calamity-avoiding ocean. Maybe I will be able to take other people's calamity-avoiding airship and enter the core area. Lu Ming thought for a while and made a decision. Then, he used the map Fei Huang had given him to determine the direction and flew towards the core area. While flying, Lu Ming's appearance and body quickly changed. In the end, he changed his appearance. Although it couldn't change his life origin chi, he had stayed in the heavenly palace for a long time. The heavenly palace had preserved his chi. Once they met, many people would recognize him. However, at least he wouldn't be discovered by the heavenly palace's monitoring formation. The monitoring formation could only distinguish the appearance, but not the life origin chi. That way, it would save him a lot of trouble. As expected, he didn't get besieged for a while. On the way, if he encountered people from the heavenly palace, Lu Ming would avoid them. He didn't want to encounter people who could recognize his life origin chi. Otherwise, it would be difficult to avoid a great battle. Even though he had broken through to the heavenly palace and his fighting strength had increased, it was hard to guarantee that there were even more terrifying people in the heavenly palace. In the following 2 days, Lu Ming didn't encounter too much trouble. However, on the 3rd day, Lu Ming discovered something. On the left side of Lu Ming's flight, there was a violent explosion. There were dazzling lights and furious roars. Those roars, Lu Ming's eyes moved. Those roars were similar to the roars of ancient gods. Chapter 43:10. Lu Ming had heard the roar of a primitive immortal level spirit. However, as far as Lu Ming knew, there were no divine emperors among the primitive immortal level spirits, which meant that the one who roared had the bloodline of a primitive immortal level spirit or cultivated the primitive divine body. Is it someone from the primitive divine lake? Let's go and have a look. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He then flew in that direction. The primitive divine lake belonged to the Heaven Destroyer. If they were in danger, he couldn't just stand by and watch. Lu Ming would help if it was within his capabilities. After a few flashes, he had crossed 100,000 miles and arrived at a mountain range. Lu Ming's eyes widened as soon as he arrived. The mountain range in front of him was filled with purple light. There was a giant 8 trigrams in the purple light. It was an alchemy field. There were 2 groups of people fighting fiercely around the 8 trigrams. One of them was surrounded by the other. On the side that was surrounded, there were a few particularly large figures who roared at the sky. The roar of a primitive immortal level spirit that Lu Ming heard came from them. They are indeed people from the primitive divine lake and some other people from the Heaven Destroyer. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It was the heavenly palace that was besieging the sky exterminating troop. There were more than 50 of them, while the Sky Exterminating Troop only had more than 30 people. Therefore, the Sky Exterminating Troop was at a complete disadvantage. There was no cauldron on the 8 trigrams. Apparently, it had been put away. It's them? Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a hint of killing intent. There were people he knew on both sides. There were a few elites from the primitive Divine Lake on the Heaven Destroyer's side. Lu Ming knew one of them, Fei Yi, who he had fought with at the primitive Divine Lake. Coincidentally, there were a few brawny heavenly humans on the Heavenly Palace's side. They were the ones who had attacked Lu Ming and severely injured Lu Ming. He didn't expect to see them here. Ah! Suddenly, a miserable shriek rang out. A huge figure was beheaded by a celestial race man. Then, his soul was annihilated. That was an elite with a primitive god spirit blood pulse. He was very powerful, but he was still killed. In a battle of the same level, he wasn't a match for the heavenly human tribe's muscular man. Kill all these traitors. A muscular heavenly human race man roared. Kill. The people from the Heavenly Palace were in high spirits as they fought madly. It had to be known that killing traitors gave a large number of merit points, and the merit points obtained were even higher than that of demons. In the eyes of the Heavenly Palace, the traitor's head represented merit points and treasures. The Heaven Destroyer's side was even more vulnerable. They were forced to retreat and could only defend. It was difficult for them to counterattack. Damn it. Don't go too far. We can give you the pill furnace, but you have to make way for us, a voice came from Heaven Destroyer's side. It was Flying Leaf. It seemed that the pill furnace of this elixir field had fallen into the hands of Heaven Destroyer. As long as we kill you, the pill furnace will still be ours. A muscular heavenly human race man sneered. The people from the Heavenly Palace didn't give in at all. They continued to attack, and Heaven Destroyer's side was in danger. If this continued, Heaven Destroyer's side was likely to be wiped out. I should be able to deal with the elites from the Heavenly Palace. Lu Ming observed for a while and decided to make a move. These people had seriously injured him before. This grudge must be avenged. In addition, if he made a move, he could also save the people of Heaven Destroyer. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Swish! Lu Ming rushed over at an astonishing speed, like a stream of light. As soon as Lu Ming rushed out, he alarmed the elites from the Heavenly Palace. Many pairs of eyes looked toward Lu Ming. It's him. It's Mu Yun. The muscular heavenly human race men recognized Lu Ming as soon as they saw Lu Ming. Although Lu Ming had changed his appearance, they had all seen Lu Ming before and knew the aura of Lu Ming's life origin. For people at their level, they relied on the aura of life origin to recognize people. It's him. At the same time, the people of Heaven Destroyer also recognized Lu Ming. They had long remembered each other's life origin aura. Unfortunately, he's alone. He can't save us at all by himself. He can't even protect himself. Why did he still rush out? Is he confident? The people of Heaven Destroyer had many thoughts in their minds. Mu Yun, he actually dares to take the initiative to appear. Kill him. On the side of the Heavenly Palace, many people revealed a scorching light. Some of them reacted quickly and rushed towards Lu Ming. They wanted to kill Lu Ming first. A total of 10 people rushed towards Lu Ming. They were extremely fast, including a muscular heavenly human race man who had the strength of the 6th great supreme god layer. Damn it, they beat us to it. The other people of the Heavenly Palace were roaring in their hearts. They were cursing themselves for being too slow. Killing Mu Yun would be a great merit. They could even be crowned as the son or daughter of heaven. On the side of the Heavenly Palace, many people were annoyed and blamed themselves for being too slow. At that moment, the 10 people of the Heavenly Palace were already close to Lu Ming. They attacked Lu Ming with all kinds of attacks. They wanted to kill Lu Ming first and take the credit. You're courting death. Lu Ming didn't stop. He used the sky-breaking movement and his entire body turned into a long spear. He put his palms together and stretched them out. With his palms as the tip of the spear and his body as the body of the spear, he rushed towards the 10 strong cultivators of the heavenly palace. Bang! The attacks of the 10 strong cultivators of the heavenly palace were destroyed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming didn't stop. He rushed past the strong cultivators of the heavenly palace and pierced their bodies. Ah! 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 Those people kept screaming. In a flash, 9 of them were torn apart by the terrifying energy and died on the spot. The muscular heavenly human race man was a little stronger. Although he wasn't killed on the spot, he was severely injured. He coughed up blood and retreated. Your cultivation. The muscular heavenly human race man shouted in fear. The burly man from the heavenly human clan shouted in horror. Obviously, he did not expect Lu Ming's cultivation level to increase so quickly. I said before that I would kill you sooner or later. Go to hell. Lu Ming shouted coldly. He didn't stop and continued to rush forward. The muscular heavenly human race man couldn't withstand Lu Ming's attack and was killed. The remaining people of the heavenly palace were stunned. At the same time, they felt a chill in their hearts. How could Lu Ming's combat strength be so strong? More than 10 strong cultivators rushed out and were killed in an instant. His combat strength was too terrifying. If they were the ones who rushed out just now, the consequences would be unimaginable. This kid has broken through his cultivation. Damn it. He was injured so badly. How could he recover so quickly and break through his cultivation so quickly? The muscular heavenly human race men roared in disbelief. On the other hand, the eyes of those from the sky exterminating troop brightened with hope. Lu Ming's combat strength was beyond their imagination. Perhaps they could be saved this time. Chapter 43:11. I told you before that I would kill you sooner or later. Give me your lives. Lu Ming looked at the strong men of the heavenly human clan. His eyes were filled with killing intent. At the same time, he pushed his aura to the peak and stepped out, pressing towards the heavenly palace. Some of the weaker ones felt a chill in their hearts. They could not help but take a few steps back, not daring to face Lu Ming. Don't be afraid. Let's join hands and kill him. We'll split the rewards. Shouted a strong man of the heavenly human clan. He was extremely strong. He had the strength of the 6th great supreme god layer and 5 stars of battle strength. That's right. Let's attack together. Shouted the other strong cultivators of the heavenly human clan. Boom! Boom! Immediately afterward, a few burly men from the heavenly human race attacked. They channeled the power of heaven and charged toward Lu Ming with halberds, spears, and swords. Not only the heavenly human clan, but also the strong cultivators of the other clans. They also attacked Lu Ming. There were 7 strong cultivators in total. They were the strongest cultivators there. The 7 experts made a move and their power was shocking. 7 rays of light with destructive power were aimed at Lu Ming's 7 vital points. Good. Lu Ming looked at the 7 strong cultivators coldly. He didn't retreat at all. He attacked them directly. At the same time, his body started shining. That was a defensive ancient secret skill. There were more than 200 kinds of ancient secret skills. Swish! Lu Ming turned into a spear and attacked a strong cultivator of the 6th great supreme god layer. As for the other 6 people, Lu Ming didn't care. Boom! Lu Ming and the strong cultivator of the 6th great supreme god layer collided. That strong cultivator of the heavenly human clan was extremely strong. He had the strength of the 6th great supreme god layer and 5 stars of battle strength. 3 months ago, he had severely injured Lu Ming. But now, his overall combat strength was already inferior to Lu Ming. He was even 1 star lower than Lu Ming. At the instant of the collision, the celestial race man's attack was defeated. The spear light didn't stop and continued to stab toward the celestial race man. With a pu sound, the celestial race man's body was penetrated by the spear light. A large hole was blasted in his body as he frantically retreated. One move, and he was severely injured. 3 months ago, he had severely injured Lu Ming with a single move. Now, Lu Ming had severely injured him with a single move. The situation was completely reversed from before. At the same time, the attacks of the other 6 masters also hit Lu Ming. Boom! Boom! The more than 200 layers of defense on the surface of Lu Ming's body constantly vibrated and emitted intense rumbling sounds. Following that, layer after layer of defenses were torn apart. In the end, more than 200 layers of defense were destroyed. However, the strength of the 6 masters was almost exhausted. The remaining power bombarded Lu Ming's body, but it only left a few shallow wounds on Lu Ming's body. He was only slightly injured. With the increase in cultivation and the increase in forbidden energy, Lu Ming's ancient secret skills had also become much more powerful. 3 months ago, he couldn't defend himself, but now he could defend himself. Die, said Lu Ming indifferently. He continued to attack the strong cultivator of the heavenly human clan who had been injured by him. Ah, hurry up and attack, shouted the strong cultivator of the heavenly human clan. He retreated as fast as he could. He wanted to escape into the crowd and let the others block Lu Ming. Attack! How could the Heaven Destroyer miss such an opportunity? They all attacked the people of the Heavenly Palace. Some of the strongest masters of the Heavenly Palace had attacked Lu Ming. The rest of them were not top masters. Although they still had more people than the Heaven Destroyer, their combat strength was not as good as the Heaven Destroyer's. They were forced into a disadvantageous position. In this way, they naturally couldn't help the strong cultivator of the heavenly human clan. You can't escape, said Lu Ming coldly. He used the teleportation skill. In a flash, he appeared beside the strong cultivator of the heavenly human clan. He continued to use the Heaven Destroyer style and attacked the strong cultivator. This time, the strong cultivator couldn't resist the attack. The spear directly penetrated his head and he died on the spot. The attacks of the other 6 masters hit Lu Ming again. However, just like before, they only caused minor injuries to Lu Ming. Now, it's your turn. Lu Ming's cold voice could be heard. His gaze was as cold as a knife as it swept across the other 6 people. When Lu Ming's gaze landed on the 6 of them, their skin seemed to be cut by a knife and their hair stood on end. They couldn't help but retreat. They retreated quickly, but Lu Ming chased after them even faster. Swoosh! He used the Heaven Destroyer style and his body turned into a spear light. It was like the extreme light skill. Slash! A cultivator of the heavenly human clan of the 6th great supreme god layer who only had the battle strength of 4 stars was killed instantly. Those who only had the battle strength of 4 stars couldn't even block one of Lu Ming's attacks. They could only be killed instantly. After killing that man, Lu Ming turned around and attacked another person. He was too fast. Lu Ming combined the extreme light skill and the teleportation skill. Those people couldn't escape at all. Every time the spear light flashed, one of them was killed. After 5 flashes, the remaining people were all killed. Not a single one was left alive. Their interspatial rings were all in Lu Ming's hands. Run! Those who were fighting Heaven Destroyer were scared out of their wits when they saw this. They didn't dare to stay any longer. They ran in all directions crazily. Don't let them escape. Kill them. Kill them. Don't leave a single one alive. At this moment, the people of Heaven Destroyer attacked the people of the Heavenly Palace. The people of the Heavenly Palace didn't want to fight anymore. They just wanted to run away. They were constantly looking at Lu Ming. They were afraid that Lu Ming would attack them. They weren't strong at all. They were constantly being killed by the people of Heaven Destroyer. Lu Ming didn't hold back either. He stepped into the air and attacked the people of the Heavenly Palace. He specifically chose people with strong cultivation because these people were most likely to have alchemy furnaces or desolation pills. He couldn't miss this opportunity. When Lu Ming attacked, the people of the Heavenly Palace were even more one-sided. Lu Ming wouldn't show any mercy to the people of the Heavenly Palace. If these people stayed, they would be on the opposite side in the future. They would also become enemies. It was better to get rid of them as soon as possible. After Lu Ming killed more than 10 people, the others were all killed by the people of Heaven Destroyer. None of them escaped. After all, there were also top masters on the side of Heaven Destroyer. They weren't weaker than the brawny man from the Heavenly Human tribe. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to block the attack of the Heavenly Palace. Ha ha ha, this is great. Kill these bastards from the Heavenly Palace. The members of the Sky Exterminating Army laughed heartily. It was rare to have such an opportunity to hunt down the people of the Heavenly Palace. Then, many people flew toward Lu Ming. Mu Yun, thank you for your help this time. Thank you, thank you. Some people cupped their fists and thanked Lu Ming. Humph. Fei Yi snorted coldly in his heart and stood to the side without saying anything. When he was defeated by Lu Ming, he was very unhappy. However, at that time, he suppressed his cultivation to fight with Lu Ming. In his heart, he always thought that Lu Ming was inferior to him. However, the combat strength that Lu Ming displayed just now was extremely terrifying. Even if he didn't suppress his cultivation, he was no longer a match for Lu Ming. This made him envious and jealous, and he was even more unhappy. Chapter 43:12. Everyone, you're too polite. The Heavenly Palace is our common enemy. Since I've bumped into them, I should help them. Lu Ming said with a smile. No matter what, we have to thank you for saving us. Since we've bumped into each other, why don't we move together? That way, we can collect desolate pills faster. Suggested a strong man at that moment. That strong man seemed to be in his 30s. He had the blood of the primitive divine spirit and was extremely strong. He had the strength of the 6th great supreme god layer and was one of the strongest members of the Heaven Destroyers group. A moment ago, he had transformed into the primitive divine spirit and roared, which Lu Ming had heard. Let's move together. Lu Ming's gaze flickered and he seemed to be tempted. If they were in other places, Lu Ming wouldn't want to move together. Moving alone was freer and easier. Even if they encountered danger, they could come and go as they pleased. But in the 2nd layer of the Taishang Immortal City, it was different. Here, even if they had a cauldron, they needed someone to guard it at all times. They had to activate the cauldron from time to time so that the cauldron could keep working and condense desolate pills. If Lu Ming carried the cauldron with him all the time, he wouldn't be able to get anything. But he could cooperate with others. For example, if he cooperated with the Heaven Destroyers group, Lu Ming could take out the cauldron and ask them to guard it and help him refine desolate pills. The desolate pills could be divided equally between them. That way, both sides would benefit from it. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Therefore, Lu Ming was quite tempted to cooperate with the other party. I don't agree to go with him. At that moment, a discordant voice sounded. Everyone looked at the source of the voice. It was Fei Yi. Fei Yi looked at Lu Ming coldly and said, we can't go with him. Don't forget that the entire Heavenly Palace is hunting him down. If we kill him, we'll be crowned as the Heavenly Palace's son or daughter of Heavenly Palace. Under such conditions, the entire Heavenly Palace will go crazy. He will be killed by the people of the Heavenly Palace sooner or later. Since he is working with us, we will be implicated by him and bear the same risks as him. As soon as he said that, the faces of Heaven Destroyer's people changed. This was indeed the case. They were also active in this area and naturally knew that during this period of time, people from the Heavenly Palace were frantically searching for Lu Ming. They wanted to kill Lu Ming and obtain great merits. If they were to act together with Lu Ming, they would also be in danger. Some of them were grateful for Lu Ming's help, but compared to their own lives, they naturally valued their own lives more than their gratitude to Lu Ming. Therefore, for a moment, no one spoke. Even the big man with the original God Spirit blood pulse looked glum. He did not speak. Hee hee. Lu Ming chuckled. Was this how these people repaid him for saving their lives? Hearing Lu Ming's laughter, some people's faces turned red with shame. However, Fei Ye's heart was filled with pride. He did not want to act together with Lu Ming. Then, how about this? After all, Mu Yun saved us once. If it were not for Mu Yun, we would have been killed by the heavenly palace. Therefore, I suggest that we give some of the elixir furnaces that we obtained in the elixir field to Mu Yun. What do you think? The big man with the original God Spirit blood pulse said. He was really embarrassed and felt that he had let Lu Ming down. I object. Those elixir furnaces were exchanged with our lives. Why should we give them to him? Fei Yi immediately shouted again. That's right. Those elixir furnaces are where our opportunities lie. They are the foundation of our lives. When we become stronger and obtain more opportunities, we will need those elixir furnaces. I don't agree with giving them to him either. Another person also shouted. This person had a good relationship with Fei Yi, so he was naturally on Fei Ye's side. Everyone, the elixir furnaces are the most important. Whether we can obtain more opportunities in the future depends on these elixir furnaces. This is related to all of our futures. If anyone is willing to give them to him, then give him your share. Fei Yi shouted. Many people looked at each other. Originally, some of them were in favor of giving Lu Ming a few elixir furnaces to repay him. Now, however, they hesitated. The big man with the original God Spirit blood pulse was also hesitating. Everyone else was against it. If he agreed alone, he would not be able to mingle in the future. He would be ostracized by others. He showed a troubled expression. No need. I have plenty of elixir furnaces. You can keep them. Also, I prefer to act alone. Let's go our separate ways. Lu Ming said coldly. He then turned around and walked away. After taking a few steps, Lu Ming stopped again. He turned around and looked at Fei Yi. I hope you don't have anything to ask of me in the future. After that, Lu Ming did not stay. His body flashed and disappeared from where he was. Something to ask of him? That's ridiculous. This kid can't even protect himself. Although he has some combat power, there are many elites in the Heavenly Palace. Any one of them could kill him. He can't even protect himself. He could be killed at any time. We will have something to ask of him in the future. Ha ha. Fei Yi sneered. He was very pleased to have chased away Lu Ming. Fei Yi, don't cross the line. The big man with the original God Spirit blood pulse scolded him. Fei Yi curled his lips and did not care. Lu Ming continued to fly toward the core area. However, after flying for a while, Lu Ming suddenly came to a halt. Who is it? Who is following me sneakily? Come out. Lu Ming shouted coldly. His eyes were like lightning as he scanned behind him. He had been feeling that someone was following him. Ever since he left with Fei Yi and the others, he had this feeling. During this period, he had used the greater teleportation technique several times, but he could not get rid of this feeling. The person who was following him was definitely not ordinary. An ordinary person would definitely not be able to follow him. Brother Mu, no, it should be Brother Lu. You are indeed extraordinary. I knew I couldn't hide. A chuckle was heard, and then a figure appeared. It was a young man in a long robe. He was very elegant and handsome. He always had a smile on his face. You are Yi Ling. Lu Ming's eyes moved. He recognized this person. This young man was not from the Heavenly Palace. He was from the Heaven Destroyer. Lu Ming had memorized this person's life origin aura. Previously, this was the person who had been following him secretly. As soon as I left Fei Yi and the others, you followed me secretly. What is your purpose? Lu Ming went straight to the point. Of course, I want to cooperate with Brother Lu. Yi Ling smiled. Lu Ming's identity was not a big secret in the Heaven Destroyer. Many people knew that Lu Ming was Mu Yun. Obviously, Yi Ling knew that too. Cooperate with me? Now the Heavenly Palace is hunting me down everywhere. Aren't you afraid that I'll implicate you? Lu Ming sneered. Chapter 43:13. Afraid of being implicated? What's there to be afraid of? Yi Ling smiled faintly and continued, moreover, I'm not as short-sighted as Fei Yi and the others. As far as I know, every forbidden body is a heaven-defying existence. They have endless luck and can always turn misfortune into blessings. When they encounter heaven-defying opportunities, even the people around them will benefit from it. Although cooperating with you will be dangerous, it will also be accompanied by greater opportunities. You're very far-sighted, but why should I cooperate with you? Lu Ming asked. Now, you're not very strong, you need help. My current combat strength is above yours, so I can help you. If we cooperate, we can complement each other and benefit each other. Yi Ling said, looking very confident. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes slightly. Yi Ling's strength was absolutely astonishing. Lu Ming did not doubt this. He could vaguely sense that this person's cultivation was at the 6th Emperor God realm. However, his combat strength could not be measured by cultivation because this person was the top genius of the Heaven Destroyer. Fei Yi was not worth mentioning in front of him. This person's combat strength was definitely above Lu Ming's. Now that they were cooperating, it was indeed beneficial for Lu Ming. Okay, I agree to cooperate. Lu Ming thought for a while and nodded in agreement. Yi Ling was a genius of the Heaven Destroyer. They belonged to the same camp, so he should not be disadvantageous to him. As Yi Ling said, their cooperation was a win-win situation. Ha, great. Yi Ling laughed. You've been following me since I left Fei Yi and the others. So, you've been nearby for a long time? Lu Ming asked again. If this person had been there for a long time, why didn't he save Fei Yi and the others? Don't think too much. At that time, I had just arrived. When I arrived, the Heavenly Palace had already been defeated by you. There was no need for me to do anything. Naturally, I didn't do anything. Instead, I hid in the dark and observed. Yi Ling explained. Lu Ming nodded. If this person had arrived long ago but did not make a move, Lu Ming would have doubted this person's character. Brother Lu, judging from the direction you're heading towards the adversity overcoming sea before entering the core area, right? Yi Ling said. Not bad. Lu Ming nodded. Do you have a tribulation crossing airship? Yi Ling asked. No. Lu Ming shook his head. How are we going to cross the Sea of Calamity without a calamity crossing airship? Yi Ling glared at him. Well, let's try our luck. Lu Ming smiled awkwardly. Trying my luck? Yi Ling's eyes widened even more. He looked at Lu Ming as if he had seen something amazing. After a long time, he finally said, That's the way a forbidden body does things. Lu Ming was speechless. You have a tribulation crossing airship? Lu Ming asked after a moment of silence. No, but I know a place that does. I was just thinking of going with you. Yi Ling said. What place? Lu Ming's interest was piqued. An immortal abode is about to appear. Now, a large number of people are rushing over. Usually, when an immortal abode appears, there will be parts of a tribulation crossing airship inside. If you and I work together, we might be able to get something. Yi Ling said. Immortal abode. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and a glimmer of light flashed past. In the Grand Supreme Immortal City, other than the elixir field, there were also some immortal abode and immortal abode. The immortal abode and immortal abode were of a higher level than the elixir field. They were also rarer and rarely appeared. However, there would be greater opportunities in the immortal abode and immortal abode. In the immortal abode and immortal abode, there were not only elixir furnaces but also some other treasures. For example, the parts of the tribulation crossing airship were one of them. The appearance of the immortal abode will probably attract many experts. With just the two of us, can we snatch the parts of the tribulation crossing airship from the heavenly palace experts? Lu Ming whispered. Don't worry. As far as I know, many of the strongest people in the heavenly palace have already entered the core area. Those who haven't entered the core area are generally not too strong. If we're careful, we might be able to deal with them. Yi Ling said. Then let's do it. Lu Ming made his decision. That immortal abode is now covered by a formation. No one has entered yet. Let's go. Yi Ling said and immediately led the way in a certain direction. Lu Ming followed closely behind. Along the way, they did not meet anyone from the heavenly palace. A few hours later, they arrived at a desert. According to Yi Ling, the location of the immortal abode was in the desert. That is, after moving forward for a while, Lu Ming's eyes widened and looked ahead. In front of them, there was a dazzling light that illuminated the sky. From afar, they could see a huge immortal abode looming in the desert. We're here. The two of them perked up and continued moving forward. The full appearance of the immortal abode appeared before their eyes. The immortal abode was like a huge fortress standing in the desert. The front door was facing Lu Ming and the others. There were many people outside the immortal abode. At a glance, there were at least 1,000 people. So many elites. Lu Ming looked around and saw many members of the heavenly human tribe. Some were in the prime of their lives, and some were young. Of course, most of them were from other tribes. There were also those in the prime of their lives and those in the prime of their lives. Among them, a few young people caught Lu Ming's attention. Prodigies on the universe prodigy list. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. There were only 100 prodigies on the universe prodigy list. They were famous in the primitive universe and were more famous than many almighty. Their information and portraits were on the list. Lu Ming had studied them before, so he could recognize them at a glance. At this moment, there were a few peerless prodigies on the universe prodigy list in the crowd. These people had outstanding temperaments. Standing in the crowd, they were like cranes in a flock of chickens. Even the heavenly human tribe could not overshadow their brilliance. However, they are all at the bottom of the universe prodigy list. Interesting. Lu Ming whispered, a hint of battle intent in his eyes. Gabbert was only ranked 98th on the universe prodigy list. He was considered the gatekeeper of the universe prodigy list. These prodigies were all ranked above Gabbert. Lu Ming wondered how strong they were. He was very curious. Is there anyone here who can recognize you? Yi Ling asked Lu Ming. It's hard to say. Lu Ming said. He was a little uncertain. He had stayed in the heavenly palace for a long time. Those who had seen him would definitely recognize him from his life origin aura. There were so many people here. He was not sure if anyone had seen him before. In addition, the celestial armor that Lu Ming had worn was taken back by the great beings of the heavenly palace. The celestial armor was also stained with Lu Ming's aura. If someone remembered the aura on the celestial armor, they would be able to recognize him. Therefore, in the heavenly palace, how many people could recognize Lu Ming from his life origin aura? Lu Ming himself was not sure. We can only try our luck. I'm not a descendant of the primitive divine spirit, and I don't cultivate the primitive divine body. My aura is no different from any other race in the universe. These people can't recognize me as a member of the Heaven Destroyer. Come, let's go. If you are recognized, we will retreat first. Yi Ling said. Then the two of them stepped forward and headed toward the immortal mansion. Chapter 43:14. The two of them walked toward the immortal abode. Many people looked at Lu Ming and Yi Ling in unison. Lu Ming's expression was calm as usual. However, he spread out his spiritual senses to observe any changes. If anyone recognized him, he would leave immediately. There were too many experts here. With so many people attacking together, Lu Ming would definitely not be able to stop them. It would be the same even if Yi Ling was there. However, to Lu Ming's delight, these people merely glanced at Lu Ming and Yi Ling before turning their gazes away. There was nothing unusual about them. No one recognized me. Lu Ming was delighted. Even the heavenly human tribe members did not recognize Lu Ming. Lu Ming secretly heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that although the heavenly soldier armor had his aura, the upper echelons of the heavenly palace did not let all the heavenly human tribe members come into contact with his aura. This was even better. No one recognized him. He could blend in with the crowd and fish in troubled waters to obtain the parts of the crossing adversity flying ship. Lu Ming and Yi Ling stood aside and watched quietly. At this moment, a group of people surrounded the immortal abode to study it. That was because there was a layer of energy around the immortal abode that prevented them from entering. This is the power of the array. We have to break this layer of energy before we can enter. The immortal abode has actually appeared. It's just that we're blocked by the power of the array. Someone came to a conclusion after observing. Array? Can we break it? Someone asked. It's difficult because this array is from the last era. The principle of operation is completely different from the current array. Even if we want to break it, we'll need some time. A person who was proficient in array answered. Then break it quickly. A heavenly human tribe member said coldly. He used a commanding tone and his tone was full of arrogance. The others' faces darkened slightly. They were very unhappy. However, the other party was from the heavenly human tribe. They did not dare to talk back to him. They could only suppress their anger and observe silently to find a way to break the array. This wait lasted for 7 days. There's a way. Suddenly, a burly man who looked to be in his 30s said. Everyone recognized him. He was from the World Turtle tribe. Among those present, he was the most proficient in array formations. Is there a way to break the formation? Really? Everyone's eyes lit up with anticipation. No. The World Turtle Master shook his head. No, you said you had a solution. Were you trying to fool us? Someone said unhappily. Let me finish. The World Turtle said leisurely, I can't break this formation, but I have a way to open a passage for people to enter. However, it can only last for 10 breaths of time. After 10 breaths of time, the passage will immediately disappear and the formation will be reactivated. What? Only 10 breaths of time? Then if we go in, wouldn't we be unable to come out? A heavenly human expert frowned. Clearly, he was somewhat displeased with this outcome. That won't be the case. I've done my research, and this formation only blocks those who enter. It shouldn't have any effect on those who come out. The muscular man of the World Turtle said. Everyone was slightly relieved. That was good. As long as he went in, he wouldn't have to worry about coming out. However, they immediately thought of a problem. There were only 10 breaths of time. With so many people present, how could they make it in time? Perhaps only a portion of them could enter. However, everyone wanted to go in. How should they distribute it? Many people's gazes turned cold as they looked around warily. Obviously, there would definitely be a battle later. Everyone wanted to go in, and a great battle would inevitably break out. Open the passage. The heavenly human tribe must go in. Who wants to compete with us? A young heavenly human said coldly. His golden hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyes were full of arrogance. The people of the other races avoided this person's gaze, but their expressions became even more solemn. Yes, the heavenly human tribe must go in. No one dared to compete with them. There were about 30 heavenly human tribe members present. These heavenly human tribe members would definitely spend some time entering the passage, leaving even less time for the others. The competition would also be even more intense. Then I'll start to break the formation, the muscular man of the World Turtle Master said. Then, he discussed with a few other people who were proficient in formations. Then, he took out some miscellaneous materials and began to break the formation. The others watched nervously. They poured their divine power into their bodies, ready to attack at any time. The moment the passage was opened, they would rush into the Immortal Mansion as soon as possible. Time passed slowly. A few hours later. Open for me. The muscular man of the World Turtle Master shouted. His hands quickly formed seals, and complex and mysterious runes flew out and sank into the ground. Buzz! The surrounding ground trembled slightly, and rays of dazzling light appeared. A gap appeared in the formation protecting the Immortal Mansion. The gap wasn't very big. At most, it could accommodate 10 people at the same time. Let's go in. A heavenly human tribe prodigy shouted and rushed into the passage first. The other heavenly human tribe members followed. More than 30 heavenly human tribe members turned into rays of light and rushed into the passage. No one dared to compete with the heavenly human tribe. Swoosh! Swoosh! The heavenly human tribe was very fast. In about 2 breaths, more than 30 people rushed into the passage and entered the formation. They used 2 breaths. There were 8 breaths left. Charge! I must enter the Immortal Mansion. Pill furnace, adversity crossing flying boat, many people roared in their hearts. Greed flashed in their eyes as they rushed into the passage. More than 1,000 people rushed into a small passage together. It was too crowded. It was impossible to enter at once. Many people even bumped into each other, which naturally led to a big battle. Get lost, don't hinder me. You're the one who's hindering me. You're the one who should get lost. You're courting death. Go to hell. Near the passage, all kinds of attacks burst out, and a big chaotic battle broke out. Immediately, someone was killed, and his head flew far away. When someone attacked, it immediately involved others. In an instant, the entire area erupted into a big chaotic battle. Everyone wanted to rush forward and rush into the passage, but there were people in front of them. What should they do? They could only rush in if they killed the other party. When the big battle broke out, some people's performance was very conspicuous. For example, the prodigies on the Universe Prodigy list were rampaging. No one could defeat them. Wherever they passed, those who blocked in front of them were all killed. Of course, the strongest were not only the prodigies on the Universe Prodigy list. There were also a few adults who were extremely powerful. These adults had cultivated for a long time, and their cultivation levels were high. They also spent a lot of time on various origin secret techniques and physique secret techniques, so their power in all aspects was very shocking. These powerful beings kept rushing forward, approaching the entrance of the passage. Chapter 43:15. Lu Ming and Yi Ling's speed was also very fast. Lu Ming's figure was like a phantom. He flashed through the crowd, dodging one attack after another as he approached the entrance of the passageway at an extremely fast speed. Some people wanted to attack Lu Ming, but as soon as they attacked, they realized that they had lost track of Lu Ming. As for Yi Ling, his movement technique was also very mysterious. It was not inferior to Lu Ming's. He did not need to attack as he dodged the attacks of others and approached the entrance of the passageway. When Lu Ming approached the entrance of the passageway, 3 breaths of time had passed. In addition to the 2 breaths used by the heavenly human tribe, 5 breaths of time had passed. There were only 5 breaths left. At this time, after the heavenly human tribe, more than 50 people rushed into the passageway. Just as Lu Ming was about to rush into the passageway, a terrifying force attacked him from behind. This force gave Lu Ming a sense of danger. Without thinking, Lu Ming turned around and punched out. A resplendent fist energy collided with a blood-red sword light, resulting in an intense explosion. Terrifying shockwaves blasted out in all directions, and the surrounding people bore the brunt of the shockwaves and were hit by the shockwaves. Several consecutive screams were heard. In an instant, 7 or 8 people with weaker combat strength were directly penetrated by these forces and died on the spot. Some of the stronger ones were also injured. They coughed up blood and retreated with fear in their eyes. "It's you, Xueji," Lu Ming shouted coldly. The one who attacked him was a handsome young man in a red robe. He had red hair and an evil look in his eyes. Lu Ming knew this person. His name was Xueji. He was an exceptional genius on the Universe Prodigy list from the Blood Tribe, one of the top 10 tribes. This person was ranked 89th on the Universe Prodigy list, stronger than Gabbert. "You can actually block one of my attacks. Not bad. I'll take your life." A ferocious smile appeared on Xueji's face as he condensed a blood sword in his hand. The blood sword trembled and turned into hundreds of sword lights that shot towards Lu Ming. The sword light whistled. It was incomparably sharp and terrifyingly powerful. Xueji had also broken through to the 5th Great Supreme God layer, but his fighting abilities had already surpassed Gabbert's. Lu Ming guessed that he had the strength of the 7th star already. He was indeed a peerless genius on the Universe Prodigy list. His battle power was astonishing. However, this person was still no match for Lu Ming. Lu Ming condensed a long spear in his hand. With a shake of the spear, millions of spear lights burst forth, blocking Xueji's sword light. Afterwards, Lu Ming glanced at Xueji indifferently. He did not continue to attack. Instead, with a flash, he charged into the gap in the formation. "This brat deserves to die." Xueji's continuous attacks had actually been unable to do anything to Lu Ming. His eyes were filled with murderous intent as his figure flashed, and he also charged into the gap in the formation. At the same time, Yi Ling and Lu Ming charged into the gap in the formation at almost the same time. As soon as they charged through the gap in the formation, they arrived at a courtyard. This was a courtyard in front of the Immortal Mansion. There were many plants planted in this courtyard. However, these plants had all withered. There were no leaves, only twisted and withered branches. "Those branches are moving?" Suddenly, Lu Ming noticed that those withered branches were moving again. Upon closer inspection, Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. This was because he realized that there were centipedes living on these branches. The black centipedes were like small swords. These were black sword centipedes. Lu Ming had seen them in a purple elixir field before. Swish. 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 At that moment, those black sword centipedes moved. They charged towards Lu Ming and the others, making sharp sounds as they tore through the air like tiny sharp swords. Poof. Immediately, someone was hit. His body was pierced by the black sword centipedes, and he screamed as he retreated. Then, more black sword centipedes charged towards that person, wanting to kill him in one fell swoop. "Get lost." That person roared, took out a weapon from the Grand Supreme Immortal City, and slashed out. Clang! 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 The weapon from the Grand Supreme Immortal City slashed the black sword centipedes, making the sound of metal clashing and sparks flying. More than 10 black sword centipedes were sent flying, but they were not cut in half. These black sword centipedes continued to charge towards that person. They were very fast, and they could even turn in the air. There were too many of them. That person was already injured and could not resist at all. After barely blocking a few attacks, the black sword centipedes pierced his glabella and he died on the spot. At that moment, almost everyone who entered the Immortal Mansion was attacked by the black sword centipedes. Lu Ming did not hesitate and took out a battle saber. This was the Grand Supreme Immortal City's battle saber, and it was extremely sharp. With a flick of his wrist, the battle saber broke through the air and split into dozens of saber lights in the air, slashing towards those black sword centipedes. Clang! Clang! As sparks flew, more than 10 black sword centipedes were sent flying, but they were not cut in half. They're so hard, Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. These black sword centipedes were not cut in half. He remembered that those black sword centipedes were easily cut in half when he was in the purple-grade elixir field. But now, they were not cut in half. The strength of these black sword centipedes was much stronger than those in the purple-grade elixir field. After these black sword centipedes were sent flying, they twisted their bodies and charged towards Lu Ming again. I don't believe that I can't kill you. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold, and the 60 trillion cells in his body trembled. Traces of forbidden energy gushed out from each of his cells, gathering into a vast sea of energy that rushed into Lu Ming's arm and turned into a terrifying power. Whoosh! Lu Ming slashed out with his battle saber again. Lu Ming had only used 20% of his strength in the previous move. Because he had encountered the black sword centipedes before, he thought that 20% of his strength would be enough. There would definitely be a fierce battle in the Immortal Mansion, so he wanted to save as much strength as possible. However, the strength of the black sword centipedes here exceeded his expectations, so he could only use 50% of his strength. This time, when the battle saber slashed more than 10 black sword centipedes, they were easily cut in half and fell to the ground, no longer showing any signs of life. Xue Ji also rushed in after Lu Ming. He originally wanted to continue to deal with Lu Ming, but because he was surrounded by a large group of black sword centipedes, he could only block the black sword centipedes. Lu Ming's combat strength was considered top-notch among those present. Although he could kill the black sword centipedes, it did not mean that others could. In fact, many people were in danger at this moment. Some of the weaker ones had already fallen to the ground, no longer showing any signs of life. Even those with higher cultivation base and battle prowess were injured. Behind them, there were still people rushing in. Finally, 10 breaths were up. From start to finish, nearly 200 people had rushed in. However, more than 30 people had already died at the hands of the black sword centipedes. The gate of the Immortal Mansion was still tightly shut. Chapter 43:16. The gates of the Immortal Abode were tightly shut, and there were countless black sword centipedes attacking them. What should they do? Should they retreat? Many people were unwilling to do so. They had just entered, and now they had to retreat. They had gained nothing, and they had not even entered the gates of the Immortal Abode. However, if they did not retreat, they would be killed by the black sword centipedes. What should they do? Ah! At that moment, there were screams. Someone had died at the hands of the black sword centipedes. Moreover, after being killed by the black sword centipedes, the black sword centipedes would crawl into the bodies of the victims and gnaw on their flesh and blood essence. It was truly tragic. Damn it. Retreat, retreat. Let's go. More than a dozen people finally broke down and rushed outside with a roar. Just as the muscular man from the World Turtle Clan said, there were no obstacles when they retreated. They easily left the range of the formation and returned outside. Outside the formation, they could also see what was happening inside. At that moment, many people outside the formation were pale and broke out in cold sweat. They were secretly glad that they did not go in just now. In particular, those with weaker combat strength were even more afraid. If they had gone in just now, they might have been the ones dying at the hands of the black sword centipedes. Sure enough, opportunities were not so easy to obtain, especially in this kind of immortal abode. It was full of danger. Click. At that moment, the gates of the immortal abode made a clicking sound and opened. Yes, the gates of the immortal abode opened automatically. Lu Ming and the others were slightly stunned, then looked pleasantly surprised. The gates of the immortal abode are open. Huh, I'm so lucky. I wanted to retreat just now. Me too. Fortunately, I held on for a while longer. Charge. Instantly, Figures sent the black sword centipedes flying and then rushed toward the gates of the immortal abode. Lu Ming and Yi Ling did the same. They attacked continuously, sending the black sword centipedes around them flying, then rushed toward the gates of the immortal abode. The few people at the front had already rushed through the gates. Once they rushed through the gates, the black sword centipedes stopped and did not continue to pursue. Instead, they turned around and attacked the others. Outside the formation, the dozen people who had just retreated were dumbfounded. Then, their faces turned red and they almost vomited blood. What was going on? They had just retreated when the gates of the immortal abode opened. Regret, they were extremely regretful. If they could hold on a little longer, they would be able to rush into the immortal mansion. Once they entered the immortal mansion, they might be able to obtain a great opportunity. Their cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds and change their destiny. As long as they thought that a great opportunity might have just slipped away from their hands, they were so angry that their hearts, livers, lungs, and kidneys hurt. Lu Ming and Yi Ling were very fast. In less than 2 breaths, they had also rushed through the door. As soon as they rushed through the gate, the black sword centipedes stopped chasing them. Behind the door was a large hall. In front of the hall, there were 9 large doors. Behind the doors was a pitch-black passageway. At this moment, no one made a move because they didn't know which door to take. They also didn't know which door was safe and which door was dangerous. They were all waiting for others to test it out. Swish. Swish. Behind him, more and more people rushed in. The others had already entered. Die, brat. As soon as Xueji rushed into the hall, he stared at Lu Ming. He had a pair of blood-red bat wings on his back. With a flap of his wings, he charged at Lu Ming like a flash of lightning. This time, he didn't condense a blood sword to attack. Instead, he used his sharp claws to grab Lu Ming. His claws were extremely sharp and surrounded by a blood-red light. When he waved his hand, it was filled with a thick smell of blood. Humph. Lu Ming humphed coldly. He wasn't afraid at all. He raised his fist to meet the attack. The 2 figures collided. Their fists and claws collided. In an instant, they had exchanged dozens of blows, but there was no clear winner. Xueji's cultivation was at the peak of the 5th Emperor Supreme God layer. His battle strength had reached 7 stars. He was stronger than Gabbert. However, Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the 4th Emperor Supreme God layer. If he used his full strength, his battle strength would completely crush Xueji. However, Lu Ming didn't use his full strength. He only used his battle strength of 10 stars to fight Xueji to a draw. The bird that sticks out gets shot. If he showed too much strength now, he would definitely attract other people's attention. If there were any treasures later on, it would be difficult to compete for them. Therefore, Lu Ming kept a low profile. He only managed to fight Xueji to a draw. In Lu Ming's eyes, he was already keeping a low profile. However, in the eyes of the others, it was simply astonishing. What a terrifying battle strength. Who is that young man? He's only at the 4th Emperor Supreme God layer. How can he fight Xueji to a draw? Xueji has the battle strength of 7 stars. He's always been able to defeat people who are at a higher level than him. Now, someone with a lower cultivation level is fighting Xueji to a draw. How terrifying. He has the battle strength of 10 stars. Many people gasped and looked at Lu Ming in astonishment. In the Great Supreme God layer, there was no limit to the 9th level of the Godly Emperor layer. Moreover, with the Great Supreme God layer as the foundation, it was easier to comprehend original divine power and original secret techniques. However, in the Great Supreme God layer, there were very few people who had the battle strength of 10 stars. It was extremely rare. Who was that young man? Especially the peerless geniuses on the Universe Genius list. Their eyes were even more solemn. A battle strength of 10 stars was too terrifying. It would be a great enemy for them. In the Taishang Immortal City, the battle strength of the stars was the foundation. Cultivation level was secondary. This was because in the Taishang Immortal City, as long as one had the Desolation Pill, one's cultivation level would increase by leaps and bounds. If one's cultivation level was temporarily weak, as long as one had enough Desolation Pills, they would quickly catch up. Given Lu Ming's battle strength, once his cultivation level caught up, it would be extremely terrifying. Many people's eyes flashed as they looked at Lu Ming with murderous intent. Bang, 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 Lu Ming and Xue Ji had already exchanged more than 100 blows, but there was no clear winner. With a violent explosion, the two of them retreated at the same time and stood facing each other. Damn it! Xue Ji roared in his heart as he looked at Lu Ming coldly. However, deep in his cold eyes, there was a strong sense of shock. Lu Ming's battle strength was really beyond his expectations. Just now, he had already pushed his battle strength to the extreme, but he still couldn't take down Lu Ming. He was dealing with someone who was one level lower than him, and he still couldn't take him down. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation in his life. This was the second time. Who are you? Xue Ji shouted coldly. He didn't believe that Lu Ming was a nobody. He was most likely some peerless genius in disguise. A few of the most terrifying geniuses quickly appeared in his mind, but they didn't match Lu Ming. Their cultivation level didn't match. The most terrifying geniuses he knew had cultivation levels higher than the 4th level of the Emperor Supreme God realm. Lu Ming sneered and didn't reply. The others' gazes finally moved away from Lu Ming. Because at this moment, there were already people rushing towards the 9 doors. Some people couldn't hold back anymore. Whoosh! 2 figures walked together and rushed into a large door without causing any abnormalities. Chapter 43:17. It's fine. Many people's eyes flickered. The 2 of them rushed into a door without causing any abnormalities. Were they lucky enough to rush into a safe door, or were all 9 doors safe? Many thoughts popped up in everyone's minds. Swoosh! Swoosh! Someone rushed towards the safe door, entered it, and disappeared. Let's go there too. A heavenly human paragon said coldly as he led a group of heavenly human tribesmen and rushed towards the door. They were not sure about the other 8 doors, but at least this door was safe. Naturally, they would choose this door. This made the others' hearts sink and their expressions turn ugly. Some people wanted to rush into this door but stopped at this moment. If they walked through the same door as the heavenly human tribesmen, even if there were treasures, they would definitely not get a share. Not to mention treasures, they might even be used as a shield when they encountered danger. No one wanted to walk with the heavenly human tribesmen. Let's try the other doors. Finally, someone walked towards the other doors, ready to test it out. Unexpectedly, after they walked through the door, they did not encounter any danger or abnormalities. It's fine. Could it be that these 9 doors are not dangerous and we're overthinking? It's possible that these are just 9 ordinary doors. Many people discussed secretly. Many people became bolder after seeing that 2 doors were fine. Immediately, someone walked towards another door that no one had walked through before. It was still fine and there were no abnormalities. It seemed to be just an ordinary door. This time, even more people became bolder. Let's go. Let's go too. People continued to move towards the other doors. Almost every door had people walking through it, but in the end, nothing happened. Lu Ming and Yi Ling looked at each other and then nodded. Their figures flashed and they rushed towards the door on the far left. The 2 of them rushed through that door. Xue Ji looked at Lu Ming's figure as he left. His eyes flickered a few times, but in the end, he did not choose the same path as Lu Ming. Instead, he walked towards another door. Behind the door was a dark and deep passageway. Some people were running in the tunnel. At first, they were not very fast as they were on guard against their surroundings. However, they did not encounter any abnormalities. Gradually, they became bolder and ran faster and faster. After running for a few hundred miles, a light appeared in front of them. The passageway came to an end. That is, Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He discovered that there was a huge platform at the end of the passage. On the platform, there were lines that intertwined to form a huge 8 trigrams diagram. On top of these 8 trigrams, there were some pill furnaces. There were a total of 12 pill furnaces. 1 big and 11 small. The big ones were about 3 meters in diameter, while the small ones were about 1 meter in diameter. Many people's eyes lit up. Unexpectedly, not long after entering the immortal abode, he saw 12 pill furnaces. This was comparable to a purple pill field. Swish. Swish. There were more than a dozen people in the tunnel, all of whom were bursting with power as they charged toward the platform and the 12 pill furnaces. Lu Ming and Yi Ling moved as well. The two of them headed straight for the alchemy furnace that was about 3 meters in diameter. One alchemy furnace with a diameter of 3 meters was comparable to 10 alchemy furnaces with a diameter of 1 meter. Therefore, Lu Ming and Yi Ling were not the only ones who had their eyes on the big furnace. There were a few others as well. Get lost. One of them was a big man with a bald head. He was surrounded by Buddhist light and looked like a golden arhat. He was very aggressive. He waved his hand and a few golden palms flew toward Lu Ming and the others. He was a pure Buddhist with a cultivation of the 6th great supreme God layer. He was very strong. The golden palm pressed out. It was extremely terrifying. Even Lu Ming felt a little pressured. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch and collided with the golden palms. He blocked the golden palms. Yi Ling also struck out with his palm, blocking the golden palm print as well. However, there were 2 other people who also dashed toward the 3-meter furnace. Those 2 people were not as strong as Lu Ming and Yi Ling. The 2 of them shouted and tried their best to block the attack. However, when the golden palms pressed down on them, their attacks were destroyed. The palms pressed on their bodies and they shrieked in agony. Their bones were broken and they coughed up blood. They were blown away and on the verge of death. 4 stars fighting strength. The big man from the Buddhist clan had 4 stars fighting strength. He had the cultivation of the 6th great supreme God layer. His fighting strength was not weaker than Xueji's. Little boy, if you want to compete with me, you won't be able to get the alchemy furnace from me, said the big man from the Buddhist clan with a cold smile. Although that was what he said, he looked at Lu Ming and Yi Ling with a grave expression. A moment ago, Lu Ming and Yi Ling had easily blocked his attack, so he was not confident. Is that so? Let's see how strong you are. Lu Ming smiled and dashed toward the alchemy furnace. The big man from the Buddhist clan also dashed toward the alchemy furnace. Whoosh whoosh, at that moment, a strong wind blew in the sky above them. There was a strong sound of something breaking through the air. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. Without thinking, he threw a punch upward. A blade light slashed down at Lu Ming and collided with Lu Ming's fist. There was a loud roar and the saber gleam was blocked. Lu Ming saw a tall figure retreating backward. However, after the figure retreated, there were other figures who continued to charge at Lu Ming. There were a few of them. Their blade lights were cold and they aimed at Lu Ming's head. Lu Ming's body flashed and he quickly retreated, avoiding the blade lights. Are they puppets? At that moment, Lu Ming finally saw the faces of these figures. The ones who attacked them were in human form. They were more than 2 meters tall and they held battle blades. However, they were not made of flesh and blood. They seemed to be made of metal, but they were not from the metal clan. Their eyes were cold and merciless. Lu Ming could tell that this should be a type of puppet. At that moment, there were at least 100 puppets on the platform. They looked exactly the same. Each of them was burly and powerful. Some of them had already been killed. Whoosh! Whoosh! These puppets moved freely. With a slash of their blade lights, a third-layer Emperor God expert was cut in half and died on the spot. In the blink of an eye, only Lu Ming, Yi Ling, and the big man from the Buddhist clan were left on the platform. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, more than 100 puppets charged at Lu Ming and the other two. More than 100 blade lights enveloped them. Each blade light was very powerful. Die! Shouted the big man from the Buddhist clan. His body emitted a dazzling light. A huge Buddha appeared behind him. This huge Buddha had hundreds of arms. The hundreds of arms attacked the puppets. Chapter 43:18. Hundreds of golden palm prints collided with the swords of dozens of puppets, causing a violent explosion. However, these puppets were too strong. When the swords slashed down, the golden palm prints shook violently and then collapsed. The swords continued to slash towards the burly man from the Buddha tribe. The burly man from the Buddha tribe was shocked. He retreated quickly and kept flashing, trying to avoid the swords. However, he was one step too slow and could not avoid them completely. He was hit by a few of the swords, which broke through his protective Buddhist light and left several wounds on his body. At the same time, Lu Ming and Yi Ling were also fighting with these puppets. Yi Ling finally displayed his powerful strength. His body turned into a phantom and moved among the puppets. As he moved, he continuously slapped out with his palms. Every time he slapped out, a puppet would be sent flying. In an instant, dozens of puppets were sent flying. Lu Ming had also unleashed his full strength, activating the battle incantation to increase his combat strength by 7 times. He was just short of using the sky-splitting form. He continuously threw out dozens of punches and clashed with the dozens of puppets. After a series of booming sounds, Lu Ming felt waves of extremely violent energy surging toward him. His body could not help but retreat violently. Of course, during this period, he also hit the puppets with his fist and sent them flying. However, they were only sent flying. These puppets were completely fine. Use the weapon of the Taishang Immortal City. Yi Ling reminded from the side. A battle sword appeared in his hand. It was the weapon that he had obtained from the Taishang Immortal City. Swoosh swoosh swoosh, the battle sword turned into streaks of swords and slashed at the puppets. Sure enough, the puppets were directly cleaved apart, chopped into 2 halves. The weapon of the Taishang Immortal City could indeed break these puppets. A battle sword appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Swoosh! Lu Ming became one with his sword and slashed at the head of a puppet. Sizzle sizzle, the battle sword slashed at the puppet and a piercing sound was heard. In the end, the puppet's head was split open and the puppet collapsed to the ground. However, there was no joy on Lu Ming's face. Splitting the puppet apart was much more difficult than he had imagined. Earlier, he had already encountered a huge obstacle, and it was extremely strenuous. Yi Ling looked relaxed. This could only mean that he was too strong. Whoosh! Whoosh! After splitting apart a puppet, Lu Ming continued to attack, his battle blades slashing out continuously. A few more puppets were hacked apart by Lu Ming and scattered on the ground. Although it took a lot of effort, it still couldn't block Lu Ming's attack. However, that burly man from the Buddha race would not have it that easy. He also took out a weapon from the Supreme Immortal City. It was an axe. In the beginning, he was still able to kill a few puppets in a row, but gradually, his palms became numb and his arms trembled slightly. The recoil from slashing these puppets was too strong. At the same time, it consumed too much energy. However, there were over 100 puppets on the platform, and there were still more puppets charging at them. The burly man from the Buddha race roared and fought back with all his might. Soon, another 5 or 6 puppets were killed by him. In total, more than 10 puppets had died at his hands. However, at this moment, his strength was almost depleted. His arms were sore and blood was seeping out from between his thumb and forefinger. He could barely hold on to the axe. Clang! He clashed with another puppet. This time, his arms trembled violently and he could no longer hold on to the axe. The axe flew out of his hands. At the same time, at least 10 puppets charged at the burly man from the Buddha race. No, help. The burly man from the Buddha race revealed a look of despair as he shouted for help. However, would Lu Ming and Yi Ling save him? Although Lu Ming had no ill feelings towards the Buddha race was on the side of the heavenly palace. He didn't have a good impression of them. Furthermore, they were competitors now. Why would Lu Ming save his enemy? More than 10 puppets charged at the burly man from the Buddha race. The burly man from the Buddha race barely managed to block a few blows. However, he was no match for them and was killed mercilessly. After killing the burly man from the Buddha race, the puppets continued to charge at Lu Ming. Kill, kill. Lu Ming shouted as he slashed out with his battle saber. He had a forbidden body. Every cell of his contained power. His power was as vast as the sea and wouldn't be depleted so easily. Soon, more than 30 puppets were killed by Lu Ming. They turned into lifeless metal pieces and scattered on the ground. As for the other puppets, they had all been killed by Yi Ling. It had to be said that Yi Ling's combat strength was unfathomable. Impressive. Lu Ming exclaimed in admiration. You're even stronger. If we fight at the same level, I'll definitely be killed by you. Yi Ling said. Then, the two of them started to move. In a flash, they kept all the elixir furnaces. Finally, the two of them walked towards the largest elixir furnace. It didn't matter who took it. It was the same. They were in a cooperative relationship. The treasures they obtained would be divided equally. However, just as the two of them approached the elixir furnace, a strong wind blew from above. Two sharp forces charged at Lu Ming and Yi Ling fast. It was too fast. It was so fast that Lu Ming couldn't dodge in time. Lu Ming could only raise his battle saber and block. Clang! There was a loud explosion. Lu Ming felt an extremely powerful force rush towards him along his battle saber. Lu Ming's body couldn't help but retreat. He felt the blood in his body churn. On the other side, Yi Ling's reaction was extremely fast. He avoided the attack and retreated to Lu Ming's side. Another puppet. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This time, it was another puppet that attacked them. However, there was only one of them. The appearance of this puppet was slightly different from the previous ones. This puppet had even more elegant lines, and its appearance resembled that of a human. It also appeared to be of a higher level. In between his eyebrows, there was a red dot that looked like a ruby embedded in it. It was also holding a battle saber in its hand. Die! The puppet bellowed and bent its body slightly. Then, it suddenly leaped and charged toward Lu Ming and Yi Ling. The saber gleam slashed toward Lu Ming and Yi Ling at an alarming speed. Leave it to me, said Yi Ling. Before he could finish his sentence, he had already rushed over. As he rushed out, his body emitted a powerful aura. Whoosh! The battle saber in his hand turned into a dazzling sword light and pierced towards the puppet. Its speed was even faster than the saber light of the puppet. So strong. Is this Yi Ling's real fighting strength? Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. Yi Ling's sword was extremely terrifying. If it pierced towards him, Lu Ming felt that he wouldn't be able to block it. Yi Ling's cultivation was at the 6th layer of the Great Supreme God realm. However, his fighting strength was definitely at the 8th star or even higher. As for how high his fighting strength was, Lu Ming didn't know. He didn't know if Yi Ling was using his full strength. Such fighting strength was absolutely terrifying. No wonder he was one of the strongest geniuses on the Heaven Destroyer's side. With a clang, the sword pierced the puppet's chest. Chapter 43:19. Yi Ling's terrifying sword pierced the puppet's chest, emitting a ding sound. Surprisingly, the tip of the sword did not pierce through the puppet's chest. Yi Ling's long sword was bent into an arc, and then the puppet was sent flying. The puppet flew a few hundred meters before coming to a stop. However, there was no wound on its chest. There was only a white spot. How is it so hard? Lu Ming's eyes widened in shock. Yi Ling's sword was extremely powerful. Coupled with the sharpness of the Taishang Immortal City's weapon, Lu Ming would have been pierced through even if he had used all his means. However, it had no effect on the puppet's body. That was too shocking. Kill! The puppet roared and charged toward Yi Ling again. Its battle sword pierced through the air and slashed out a few hundred times. Layers of sword shadows enveloped Yi Ling at an astonishing speed. It seemed unavoidable. However, Yi Ling had no intention of dodging. The long sword in his hand trembled and the air was filled with sword sparks. It collided with the sword shadows. Clang, 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 the sound of collisions rang out. After a few hundred collisions, the sword shadows were all blocked and disappeared without a trace. Following that, Yi Ling's body flashed and hundreds of shadows appeared. They surrounded the puppet and launched an attack. Streaks of sword light shot toward the puppet. They either stabbed or slashed. Clang, 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 sparks flew from the puppet's body. In an instant, at least a few hundred streaks of sword light landed on the puppet's body. However, it was useless. It was useless. There was no wound on the puppet's body. It could not be broken at all. On the contrary, Yi Ling was careless and was almost hit by the puppet's sword. In terms of combat strength, Yi Ling's combat strength was completely above the puppet. However, the puppet's defense was too strong. Yi Ling could not break it at all. As such, no matter how strong Yi Ling's combat strength was, he could not do anything to the puppet. Attack the spot between its eyebrows. When you attacked just now, it was defending between its eyebrows, Lu Ming roared. He suspected that the puppet's forehead was its weakness. Yi Ling's eyes lit up. In a flash, he charged towards the puppet and thrust his sword at the puppet's glabella. Whoosh! This time, the puppet did not counterattack. Instead, it retreated rapidly and raised its sword to its forehead. With a clang, Yi Ling's sword was blocked. The puppet borrowed this force to retreat rapidly. Swoosh! With a flick of his wrist, Yi Ling unleashed his sword aura. Dozens of sword beams shot towards the puppet's forehead from different directions. However, the puppet did not care about anything else. It only cared about the area between its eyebrows. The battle saber was there, and Yi Ling could not break through its defense. Dozens of moves had been blocked by Zhang Xian. With that, they were even more certain that the puppet's forehead was its weak point. You use all your strength to deflect his saber, I'll attack. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Yi Ling, all right. Yi Ling nodded and gripped his sword with both hands. A vast amount of divine power surged into the sword as he swung it with all his might. It was a simple swing without any fancy moves, but its power was astonishing. Clang! The swing of the sword landed on the puppet's battle saber, causing a loud boom. The puppet's body was sent flying backward. At the same time, its battle saber was also deflected by the powerful force and moved away from its forehead. Now was the time. Lu Ming did not hesitate to use the Grand Aurora technique. In a flash, he appeared in front of the puppet. The battle saber in his hand was aimed at the puppet's forehead. Lu Ming's speed was too fast. In an instant, he appeared in front of the puppet. The puppet's battle saber had just been deflected by Yi Ling. This time, it could no longer use its saber to block the attack. With a pop, Lu Ming pierced through the puppet's forehead as if he had pierced a bubble. In the next moment, a powerful aura erupted from the puppet's body. Lu Ming was shocked. Could he have guessed wrongly and the puppet's forehead was not its weak point? Without hesitation, Lu Ming quickly retreated to Yi Ling's side and watched cautiously. At this moment, the puppet was stiff and motionless. However, the aura on its body was extremely violent. At the same time, runes appeared on its body and emitted a dazzling glow. Then, a shocking scene appeared. The puppet's body began to twist and transform. Finally, it turned into a strange object. This object looked like an arc, like the corner of a ship. Could this be a part of the Crossing Adversity airship? Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Yi Ling was also stunned. After a while, he said, "This should be a part of the Crossing Adversity airship. I didn't expect the parts of the Crossing Adversity airship to exist in such a form. It can turn into a puppet." Yi Ling was a peerless genius of the Heaven Destroyer. Like Lu Ming, he had also read some information about the Taishang Immortal City. In the information that they had read, it was mentioned that the parts of the Crossing Adversity airship would exist in various forms. The forms would be different in different immortal abodes. However, it was not mentioned that the parts of the Crossing Adversity airship would turn into puppets and possess powerful offensive power. So it's a part of the Crossing Adversity airship. No wonder it's so hard. It seems that only the puppet with the red dot on its forehead is a part of the Crossing Adversity airship. The others are not. Lu Ming said. Forget it. Let's keep it first and continue to look for other parts of the Crossing Adversity airship. Yi Ling said. Lu Ming nodded and flew up. With a wave of his hand, he kept the part of the Crossing Adversity airship. After keeping it, Lu Ming raised his head and looked up. Above this platform, there was another platform that was suspended in midair. Earlier on, those puppets had come down from this platform. In fact, this was not the only platform that was suspended in midair. Looking further away, there were other platforms that were suspended in midair. This void was very vast and there were platforms suspended in midair everywhere. These platforms were circular and each platform had a diameter of about 100 miles. Let's go. Lu Ming shouted softly and shot up into the sky with Yi Ling, rushing toward the platform above. Soon, the two of them successfully landed on the platform above. This platform was already empty. There was not a single puppet on it. Above this platform, there was another platform. The two of them continued to rush toward the platform above. The geographical position here was already very high and they could overlook other places. Standing there were platforms everywhere. At a glance, there were no less than 100 platforms. On these platforms, there were flickering figures everywhere. They were all puppets. Boom! 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 There were booming sounds everywhere. There were battles everywhere. Xueji, Lu Ming's eyes moved and saw the peerless genius on the universe prodigy list, Xueji. Chapter 43:20. At that moment, Xueji was in an extremely sorry state. He had transformed into a blood-colored bat and transformed into dozens of blood-colored bats. They flickered continuously in the air, dodging the attacks of the puppets. Xueji's battle power was about the same as that of the Buddha clan man from before. He wasn't a match for these puppets at all. At that moment, he was surrounded by dozens of puppets and was in imminent danger. However, he was a peerless genius after all and had many life-saving means. Under the siege of dozens of puppets, he was only seriously injured but not killed. His figure madly rushed outside and escaped from the platform. Then, he rushed into a passage and disappeared. It wasn't just this platform. On many other platforms, there were corpses of people who had entered with them. Many people had died, and the remaining people were frantically rushing out of the platform. Obviously, most people weren't a match for these puppets. Those with weaker battle power were killed, while those with stronger battle power fled desperately. Of course, there were also those with astonishing strength. On a few platforms in the distance, Lu Ming saw a few figures wielding weapons from the Taishang Immortal City. Their figures were crisscrossing as they killed the puppets one by one. Two of them were exceptional prodigies on the universe prodigy list. Their battle power was much stronger than Xueji's. Needless to say, their ranking was definitely far above Xueji's. The remaining ones were a few strong men. These strong men had extremely high cultivation levels. At the same time, their battle power was also very strong. Their overall battle power was above Xueji's. Obviously, the 9 doors from before all led to this place. There's a special puppet there. Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he looked at a platform on the left below. That platform was the platform where Xueji had been previously. There was a special puppet with a red dot between its eyebrows. It was very similar to the puppet formed by the components of the crossing adversity airship. It was very likely that this puppet was formed by the components of the crossing adversity airship. Previously, it was this puppet that had almost killed Xueji. The two of them didn't hesitate. Their figures flashed as they soared into the sky and rushed toward this platform. As the two of them approached, the special puppet's gaze seemed to be directed at Lu Ming and Xueji. Kill. This puppet seemed to have a mind of its own as it let out a low growl. Swish. Swish. The ordinary puppets immediately charged at Lu Ming and Luo Yunyang. Layers of blade light enveloped Lu Ming. Lu Ming and Yi Ling also rushed forward and engaged in a fierce battle with these puppets. They held the weapons of the Supreme Immortal City, which were incomparably sharp. It was not difficult to deal with these puppets. Yi Ling, in particular, seemed to be having an easy time. With a flash of his battle armor, a puppet was split in half. Lu Ming was a little more strenuous, but he was still able to bear it. The two of them joined forces and continued to charge forward toward the special puppet. Their target was this special puppet. As for the ordinary puppets, they were completely useless. They would kill as few of them as possible to save some energy. Soon, the two of them approached the special puppet. Kill. The special puppet let out a low roar and charged at Lu Ming and the other man with a saber in its hand. The 3 figures crossed each other like 3 bolts of lightning. Clang. Clang. Lu Ming and Yi Ling's attacks landed on the puppet's body. Clang. Clang. Sparks flew in all directions. The two of them took a look and saw that there was no trace left behind. It was the same as before. Their eyes lit up. This puppet was also extremely sturdy. It was the same as the parts of the crossing adversity airship. In that case, the possibility of this puppet being a part of the crossing adversity airship was very high. Cooperate as before. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Yi Ling. Yi Ling nodded and unleashed a powerful aura. He waved his sword and slashed at the puppet's forehead. The puppet could only block with its saber. However, Yi Ling's strength was so great that the puppet's saber was immediately deflected. Lu Ming had already seized the opportunity to use the Great Aurora technique. His figure flashed and he rushed to the front of the puppet. He stabbed his saber and pierced through the puppet's forehead. After that, Lu Ming retreated quickly. Just like before, a powerful aura erupted from the puppet's body. Runes appeared on its body and its body began to change rapidly. It turned into a strange-looking object. Its shape was different from the previous one. However, it was obvious that it was also a part of the crossing adversity airship. This should be the keel, the previous one should be the stern. Yi Ling said. The crossing adversity airship was made up of 9 parts, the bow, the body, the stern, the deck, the keel, and the sails. Only when all 9 parts were gathered could a complete crossing adversity airship be formed. Only a complete crossing adversity airship could cross the adversity crossing sea. It would not work even if it was missing a single part. Yi Ling's figure flashed and he kept the crossing adversity airship part. The two of them looked at the other platforms. In fact, there were not many puppets that were transformed from the crossing adversity airship. Not every platform had them. The two of them looked around and only saw a few platforms with them. Of course, there were many platforms stacked on top of each other. The number of puppets that were transformed from the crossing adversity airship parts was definitely not small. Lu Ming did not fight with the ordinary puppets. He used his movement technique and avoided them. He rushed to the other platforms and focused on killing the special puppets. With the two of them working together, they were successful. Soon, they killed another 3 special puppets and successfully obtained 3 parts. In total, the two of them had obtained 5 parts of the crossing adversity airship. Unfortunately, one of the parts was duplicated. They had obtained 2 parts. However, they would keep them first. The parts of the crossing adversity airship were so difficult to obtain. They were definitely precious. Perhaps they could use them to exchange for some treasures. Lu Ming and Yi Ling searched the dozens of platforms around them. The two of them headed to the other platforms further away. In the distance, a few pairs of eyes glanced at Lu Ming and Yi Ling. They were the other experts. These people had seen Lu Ming and Yi Ling obtain a few parts of the crossing adversity airship with their own eyes. They were envious and moved. However, they were extremely wary. They were mainly wary of Yi Ling. Although Lu Ming was strong and they were confident that they could deal with him, Yi Ling's combat strength made them feel uncertain. In the end, no one dared to make a move. Lu Ming and Yi Ling arrived at the platform further away. As expected, they encountered the special puppets again. The two of them worked together and continued to hunt down the special puppets. After some time, they obtained a total of 12 parts of the crossing adversity airship. Unfortunately, only 7 of the 12 parts were different. 5 of them were duplicated. As a result, they could not even form a crossing adversity airship. Chapter 43-21. However, there were still many platforms here, and they did not search all of them. The two of them continued to rush towards the platforms further away. However, after a while, their eyes widened. The situation on the platforms ahead was somewhat beyond their expectations. There were also puppets on these platforms. However, these puppets had all been killed. Their metal bodies were scattered all over the place. At a glance, they were all broken metal puppets. None of them were intact. They had all been hacked apart by a sharp blade. Moreover, there was no trace of a special puppet. Who is so powerful to be able to kill all the puppets on the platforms? Lu Ming gasped a breath of cold air. It should be the heavenly human tribe. This time, although the heavenly human tribe did not send their top elites, their average strength is very strong. Those burly men from the heavenly human tribe are not weak. If they join forces, it won't be difficult to deal with these puppets. Yi Ling said. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed, if the heavenly human tribe had a few people with Yi Ling's combat strength, it would not be too difficult to deal with these puppets. The two of them circled around the platforms in this area but did not see a single intact puppet. Naturally, they did not see any special puppets either. It seems that all the puppets in this area have been killed. Let's go. Lu Ming said, feeling a little regretful. This time, they did not manage to gather a complete crossing adversity airship. It seems that we can only go out and try our luck. See if we can get other parts of the crossing adversity airship from other places. If not, we can only trade with others. Yi Ling said. Perhaps others would have more of the 2 parts that they lacked. Perhaps others would have less of the 5 extra parts that they had. In this way, they could trade. They could even take out the extra parts to trade with others for desolation pills. The two of them went back the way they came and returned to the passageway. Then, they retreated outside. This time, the two of them had gained a lot. Although they did not manage to gather all the parts of the crossing adversity airship, they had obtained many alchemy furnaces. Of course, not every platform here had alchemy furnaces. In fact, there were very few platforms with alchemy furnaces. Only one platform out of dozens had alchemy furnaces. However, there were many platforms here. Lu Ming and Yi Ling also gained a lot. He had a total of 6 pill furnaces with a diameter of 3 meters. There were more than 60 pill furnaces with a diameter of 1 meter. The two of them divided it equally, and each of them had more than 30 furnaces, which was more than what Lu Ming had previously accumulated. As long as he could gather the adversity-traversing airship, cross the adversity-traversing ocean, and enter the core area of the 1-star palace, he would be able to use his pill furnace to madly refine desolate pills to improve his cultivation. The two of them walked back along the passage, but soon, they stopped. Because there was someone blocking the way. It was Xueji. It's you. Very good. When Xueji saw Lu Ming and Yi Ling, he revealed a ferocious killing intent. Xueji, you've been hiding here. Have you recovered? Lu Ming smiled faintly. He was mocking Xueji for being forced to flee in a sorry state by the puppets. Sure enough, the malevolence in Xueji's eyes intensified as he growled, "Brat, you're courting death. Hand over your storage rings now and I'll give you a quick death." With just you? Lu Ming sneered. What if we join in? At this moment, another voice rang out. Behind Xueji, 3 figures flashed and appeared. These people had previously used a concealment array to hide themselves and had only revealed themselves now. Lu Ming understood that these people had already cooperated with Xueji. They had specifically hidden here to rob people. Worryless. Lu Ming whispered. He knew one of the youths. He was also someone on the Universe Prodigy list. He was ranked 80 on the Universe Prodigy list and had extremely strong combat power. The other 2 were 2 burly men. Without a doubt, they were also people with strong combat power. Otherwise, they would not be qualified to cooperate with Worryless and Xueji. Now, are you qualified? Hand over your storage rings. Xueji shouted coldly, and the murderous intent in his eyes intensified. He looked like he was about to attack at any moment. Xueji, you're not qualified. Do you understand? Lu Ming shouted coldly and stepped forward. A powerful aura pressed down on Xueji. Kid, if you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Xueji roared. His body wriggled and transformed into a blood-red bat. His entire body was shrouded in blood-red light and emitted an unpleasant smell. He charged towards Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming made his move. He activated the battle formula and increased his combat power by 7 times. He threw out a punch. This time, Lu Ming did not show mercy. Other than not using the sky-splitting move, he activated 11 stars of combat power. The violent fist collided with Xueji, and there was a loud explosion. Then, there was a scream. Xueji's body retreated violently, and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. One of his wings had completely exploded. With one move, Xueji was severely injured. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. He shouted, "How is this possible? How is this possible? How can your combat power be so strong?" On the side, Worryless and the 2 burly men were also shocked. Previously, Lu Ming and Xueji had fought fiercely. Their combat power was about the same. How could Lu Ming's combat power suddenly soar? Previously, I didn't want to reveal too much. Otherwise, with your strength, how could you have exchanged so many moves with me? How naive and ridiculous. Lu Ming sneered. His voice was filled with sarcasm. You, Xueji roared angrily and spat out another mouthful of blood. It turned out that Lu Ming did not use his full strength. To put it bluntly, he was just playing with him. Otherwise, he would have been dead. He thought that his combat power was not weaker than Lu Ming's. It turned out that he was a complete joke in front of Lu Ming. This blow was too great. He was a peerless genius on the Universe Prodigy list. He was usually high and mighty. When had he ever been humiliated like this? Kill. Let's join forces and kill this brat. Tear him into pieces. Xueji roared. Attack. Worryless and the 2 burly men shouted and unleashed a powerful aura. They pushed their combat power to the extreme and charged towards Lu Ming. The combat power of these people was really shocking. They were even slightly stronger than Xueji. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes and prepared to use the sky-splitting technique. At this moment, Yi Ling spoke. I'll do it. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Ling's figure flashed and rushed past Lu Ming. The sound of a sword rang through the tunnel, and a sword light flashed. Puff! 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 Blood splattered everywhere. Xue Ji, worryless, and the other three's bodies suddenly stiffened. The four's eyes were wide open. Their eyes were filled with fear, disbelief, unwillingness, despair, and other emotions. There was a sword wound in between their eyebrows. Blood flowed out continuously. Their life auras were quickly dissipating. Chapter 43-22. Instant kill. Xue Ji, Wu Yu, and the two burly men had joined forces but were instantly killed by Yi Ling's sword. The four men's foreheads had been pierced by the sword light. Their souls had been annihilated, and they were dead. With a plop, the four men's bodies fell to the ground. Two prodigies on the universe prodigy list had been killed just like that, falling on the spot. No one even knew that two peerless prodigies had died just like that. What powerful strength! Lu Ming was once again surprised by Yi Ling's strength. It was unfathomable. Even he would not be able to withstand such combat power. The Heaven Destroyer had been able to fight against the Heavenly Palace for many years. Its strength was definitely incomparable. As one of the strongest prodigies on the Heaven Destroyer's side, Yi Ling's talent should be comparable to some of the top prodigies in the Heavenly Palace. Even if he was not as good as them, he was definitely extraordinary. Thinking of this, Lu Ming was relieved. Moreover, his cultivation was 2 levels lower than Yi Ling's. If he was at the same level as Yi Ling, he was confident that his combat power was above Yi Ling's. The two of them took the storage rings of Xue Ji in the others, then left in a flash. They quickly returned to the divine abode and rushed outside. When they passed by the courtyard, they were besieged by the Black Sword centipedes again. However, with their combat power, these Black Sword centipedes could not do anything to them. They successfully broke through the courtyard and exited the divine abode. Outside the divine abode, there were still many people surrounding it. At this moment, all eyes were on Lu Ming and Yi Ling. Some people's eyes were filled with greed. They had entered the divine abode and exited it. Did they obtain the treasures inside? When they thought that Lu Ming and Yi Ling might have the treasures inside the divine abode, many people's hearts burned with desire. However, no one was stupid. Lu Ming and Yi Ling could safely exit the divine abode. Their combat power was definitely not ordinary. Moreover, some people had seen Lu Ming and Xue Ji exchange a few blows before entering the divine abode. There was no clear winner or loser. This level of combat power was not something they could deal with. Only death awaited them if they went against Lu Ming. However, not everyone dared to make a move. At that moment, a few figures flashed over and surrounded Lu Ming and Yi Ling. They were all in the prime of their lives, and their auras were vigorous and powerful. Although these people had not been able to enter the immortal abode previously, it did not mean that their combat strength was weak. Their combat strength was actually very strong. Otherwise, they would not have dared to charge at Lu Ming and Yi Ling. The reason why they didn't rush into the immortal mansion before was because they were unlucky. Moreover, they only had a total of 10 breaths of time, so they didn't make it. They were very confident in their own combat strength. Both of you, hand over your storage rings. One of the muscular men shouted coldly. Lu Ming and Yi Ling were speechless. Another wave of robbers? Previously, it was Xue Ji, and now it was these people? Was it because they looked like they were easy to bully, or were these people blind? Very good. Yi Ling said. What's very good? A muscular man asked. If you take the initiative to give your treasures to us, that would be great. Yi Ling said calmly. Immediately, a cold murderous intent burst out from the muscular men's eyes. From their point of view, Yi Ling's words were just a prank. You're courting death. Let's send them on their way first. The muscular men shouted coldly. Their murderous intent was as sharp as a knife, and they were about to attack. Lu Ming shook his head and observed a moment of silence for these people. These few burly men were undoubtedly very powerful. Lu Ming might not be fully confident if he were to go against them. Unfortunately, they were up against Yi Ling. In that case, the outcome was already decided. Swoosh! A dazzling sword light burst out and disappeared in a flash. The muscular men followed in the footsteps of Xue Ji and the others. The sword light pierced through the space between their eyebrows and destroyed their souls. They died on the spot. The surrounding people gasped and looked at Yi Ling in horror. Those burly men had previously displayed their terrifying strength. However, they were instantly killed by Yi Ling. Fortunately, they did not attack just now. Otherwise, they would have died miserably. With a wave of his hand, he collected the storage rings of the muscular men. Then, the two of them left the place and flew into the distance. After flying for a long distance, the two of them found a secluded place and stopped. Then, they took out the storage rings on their hands and counted them. Xue Ji and the others naturally had many elixir furnaces. Lu Ming and Yi Ling split them equally. In addition to the elixir furnaces obtained from the Immortal abode, the two of them each had close to 50 elixir furnaces. Lu Ming had about 80 elixir furnaces in addition to the 30 from before. This was a huge gain. If he activated all of them, the speed of refining desolation pills would be very fast. After the two of them split up, they continued to set off in the direction of the adversity-avoiding sea. 2 days later, the sky in front of them darkened and turned pitch black. On the ground in front of them was an endless black fog. This black fog not only covered the ground but also the sky, separating the entire world. The adversity-avoiding sea. This black fog was the adversity-avoiding sea. It separated the periphery of the Star Palace from the core. The adversity-avoiding sea was very dangerous. Without the adversity-avoiding airship, it would be difficult to cross it. Look, the departure point is in front. Yi Ling pointed ahead. Lu Ming also saw that in front of them, near the adversity-avoiding sea, there was a building that looked like a city. Lu Ming had seen the information. This was the departure point. It was not that easy to take the adversity-avoiding sea on the adversity-avoiding sea. There were some conditions. One of the conditions was that the adversity-avoiding airship could only be activated in a specific place. It was not as if one could activate the adversity-avoiding airship at any time just by gathering the 9 components. Only at a specific place in the departure point would the adversity-surpassing airship be activated and cross the adversity-surpassing ocean after absorbing the special energy. The building in front of them was the departure point. If one wanted to cross the adversity-avoiding sea, they had to depart from here. Therefore, anyone who wanted to enter the core area had to come here and depart from here. From afar, one could see figures flashing in the city. When they arrived, Yi Ling also changed his appearance. He was afraid that he would be recognized by the people from the Heavenly Palace. Then, the two of them flew towards the city. Lu Ming could only bite the bullet and fly into the city. Even though there were many people from the Heavenly Palace in the city and the chances of them recognizing him were very high, he had no choice but to enter the city. He could only take a gamble and hope that no one recognized Lu Ming. Fortunately, the two of them entered the city through the city gate. They met many people on the way, but no one recognized Lu Ming. Soon, the two of them arrived at a remote part of the city. There were many buildings in the city. Many of the buildings were empty. The two of them found an empty building to stay in. Lu Ming, you stay here first. I'll go out and check out the situation. Yi Ling said. Lu Ming's target was too big. He would be easily recognized if he went out. Once he was recognized, it would be more troublesome and detrimental to their future plans. Chapter 43-23. Their plan was to use the spare parts of the crossing adversity airship to exchange for what they needed. If Lu Ming was discovered, they would be lucky if they could stay alive. They could forget about exchanging for the parts of the crossing adversity airship. All right. Lu Ming nodded. After Yi Ling left, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged. He took out the desolation pills and started refining them. During this period of time, although he had not concocted great desolation pills, he had obtained quite a number of great desolation pills from others. For example, Xue Ji and the others had obtained about 100,000 desolation pills. After splitting them with Yi Ling, Lu Ming had about 50,000 desolation pills. Although he would need at least 1,200,000 desolation pills to break through to the 5th layer of the Emperor Supreme God realm, it was still a long way off. However, after refining them, his cultivation level would increase a little. He could not waste any time in the Taishang Immortal City. He opened his mouth and sucked in tens of thousands of desolation pills. Then, he started refining them. The speed at which Lu Ming refined the desolation pills was very fast. 50,000 desolation pills were refined within a few hours. Lu Ming's cultivation level had improved a little and his realm had become more stable. Of course, there was still a long way to go before he reached the 5th layer of the Emperor Supreme God realm. After refining the desolation pills, Lu Ming continued to comprehend the ordinary secret techniques. He condensed the secret technique runes and merged them into his cells. Of course, they were all beginners. If he wanted to cultivate them to greater success, it would take too much time. He would have to find an opportunity in the future. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. At this time, Yi Ling came back. "What's the news?" Lu Ming asked after he finished cultivating. "There's news. In 3 days, there will be a secret trade fair here. I've already gotten a spot. Let's go together. We might be able to get the missing parts of the crossing adversity airship. The extra parts might be able to exchange for a large amount of desolation pills," Yi Ling said. Lu Ming frowned slightly. This was indeed good news, but wouldn't he be recognized by the people of the Heavenly Palace if he went with them? As if he had guessed Lu Ming's thoughts, Yi Ling said, "Don't worry. This time, there won't be anyone from the Heavenly Palace participating. There won't be anyone from the Celestial Tribe, and there won't be any core disciples from the Heavenly Palace either. They'll all be from other tribes. Those big clans are also on guard against the Heavenly Human Tribe. After all, the Heavenly Human Tribe is too domineering. If the Heavenly Human Tribe participates in this trade fair, there will be no fairness. Maybe they will buy the treasures at a low price or directly rob them," Yi Ling said. Lu Ming suddenly realized that this was indeed the case. It seemed that the trade fair this time was held behind the Heavenly Human Tribe's back. There were very few people from other races who had seen Lu Ming. Perhaps they knew his appearance, but not many could recognize his life origin aura. With that, Lu Ming was relieved. "All right, let's go together in 2 days." Lu Ming nodded. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. The two of them set off and headed toward the east of the city. There were fewer buildings and even fewer people in the east of the city. Relatively speaking, it was more remote. Soon, the two of them arrived in front of a building. There were 2 people guarding the outside of the building. The Metal Tribe. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The 2 burly men guarding the building were from the Metal Tribe, one of the top 10 tribes. "Both of you, there are already people living here. Please look for another place," one of the burly men from the Metal Tribe said. Yi Ling did not say anything. He took out 2 pieces of silver metal with strange patterns engraved on them. The 2 burly men from the Metal Tribe looked at each other. One of them said, "Both of you, please come in." With that, they stepped aside. The 2 of them walked in. There was a large hall inside. In the middle of the hall was a cave. When they walked in, it turned out to be a slanted staircase that extended all the way to the bottom. The 2 of them walked down the staircase. After making several turns, they finally reached the end. It turned out that there was a basement below. There were some chairs in the basement. At this time, there were already many people. Lu Ming glanced over and found that there were already more than 20 people. The Demon Tribe, the Buddha Tribe, the Blood Tribe, and the Metal Tribe. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He glanced over and found the 4 major tribes in the top 10 tribes. There were young people and strong men, but there was no doubt that they were all strong. The 4 major tribes were divided into 4 areas and sat together. There were also some people sitting on the other chairs. These people were scattered, alone, or in groups of 2 or 3. These people only glanced at Lu Ming and Yi Ling casually and did not pay much attention to them. Lu Ming and Yi Ling walked to the 2 chairs at the side and sat down. Next, people kept coming. The Battle Saint Tribe, the Soul Tribe, the 9 Great Plant Royal Tribes, and the Spirit Tribe, Lu Ming thought to himself. These tribes were all among the top 10 tribes. Among them, it was Lu Ming's first time seeing the 9 Great Plant Royal Tribes and the Spirit Tribe. In the Eldritch universe, there were many plant life forms. There were all kinds of plant life forms. Not all plant life forms could be called the top 10 tribes. Only the 9 Great Plant Royal Tribes, the 9 Great Plant Royal Tribes, could form an alliance and be considered one of the top 10 tribes. There was also the Spirit Tribe. The Spirit Tribe was very special. They evolved from the spirits of heaven and earth. For example, the spirits of the 5 elements, such as the Fire Spirit, Water Spirit, Metal Spirit, Wood Spirit, and Metal Spirit. In addition, there were also the Wind Spirit, Ice Spirit, Lightning Spirit, Light Spirit, Dark Spirit, and so on. These spirits evolved from the spirits of heaven and earth and took human form. They were all called the Spirit Tribe. The Spirit Tribe was very few in number, but their strength was very terrifying. Every Spirit Tribe member had a special skill and was very powerful. Among the top 10 tribes, the Spirit Tribe had the least number of people. However, they could be ranked among the top 10 tribes. This showed how powerful they were. The Demon Tribe, the Buddha Tribe, the Metal Tribe, the Blood Tribe, the Battle Saint Tribe, the Soul Tribe, the 9 Great Plant Royal Tribes, the Spirit Tribe, 8 of the top 10 tribes are here. Only the Angel Tribe and the Quasi-Immortal Tribe are not here yet. Lu Ming murmured in his heart. The Quasi-Immortal Tribe was an extremely powerful and mysterious tribe. They were known as the strongest tribe under the Celestial Tribe in the primitive universe. The Quasi-Immortal Tribe did not have many people, only a little more than the Spirit Tribe. They had always been very low-key, but no one doubted their strength. Some people said that even the Celestial Tribe had to give some face to the Quasi-Immortal Tribe. Lu Ming had never seen the Quasi-Immortal Tribe before. Even when he was a heavenly soldier, he had never seen anyone from the Quasi-Immortal Tribe. This was because the Quasi-Immortal Tribe would not go to the Heavenly Palace. Okay, everyone is here. At this time, a burly man stepped forward and came to the center of the basement. His footsteps made thumping sounds. This was a burly man from the Metal Tribe. His aura was as strong as a mountain. Everyone is here? There's no one from the Angel Tribe. It seems that the Angel Tribe is excluded. Very good. Lu Ming's heart stirred. The Angel Tribe had a deep relationship with the Celestial Tribe. Informing the Angel Tribe was equivalent to informing the Celestial Tribe. Therefore, it was normal to exclude the Angel Tribe. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.